Hello, everybody, and welcome to this apostate prophet show, dear Chads. David, what's up? How you doing?
What's up, man?
What's up, man? What's up? Lots of stuff going on, man. Lots of stuff going on. I feel like it's so funny. I canceled an entire trip. I was supposed to be on a bunch of interviews and stuff, and do things like on the West Coast. But canceled a bunch of things because I got sick. And my kids got sick. You're sick. And then instead of resting, I decided to just do stuff every day. And so much is happening right now. It's kind of funny. Like, why did I even cancel my trip? I don't even get it.
Yeah, you could have either not canceled your trip or you're just going to be sick forever.
Yeah.
You're sick. You're sick.
All right. But yeah, so lots of stuff is happening, man. Lots of stuff is happening. Lots of big stuff is happening. David, what else is happening? What's going on?
I don't know.
Oh, good. That's a good.
There's apparently a big beautiful bill.
I don't care about the big beautiful bill, but
and Elon says, "I'm going to start a new party," and then they're like, "Hey, let's all fight! And anyway,
that's fantastic.
Then there's Azalea Banks going, "Oh, this apostate prophet's so cute. Let me share his video."
I was a little bit surprised. I was a little bit surprised by that. So as people have seen, I made a video when David was here. I quickly decided to make a video about Azalea Banks because she was being attacked and she said some really based things. So I decided to make a video about her and about how she's right, and talked about Islam and slavery. And earlier today, suddenly she just posts on her Twitter account, which is a very wild Twitter account, by the way, so caution is advised. But she's a little bit nuts, but also very funny. She just posts just the link to my YouTube video, and that's it. And you have people complaining in the comments and all that. So it was kind of awesome to see.
Well, if we know anything about Azalea Banks, it's that if people complain, she'll do exactly what they're telling her to do.
Yeah, she has that kind of attitude. She when people tell her, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing this," she's like, "I am gonna do it." That's the right attitude. That's the right attitude. Right attitude. So anyway, I'm very glad that reached her and she actually posted it without even saying anything about it. It's very cool. For those asking who the flip is Azalea Banks, she's a rapper. She's a very creative musician, very creative rapper. And the thing is, like, lots of people became aware of her music several years ago. She has this one song which is called 212, which I think has like a 300 million views or something on YouTube. And it's like it's very unique, but it's also kind of very, very, very obscene.
Yeah, first you said kind of, and and then you switched to very, very, very obscene. Yes. I knew who she was from way back in the day, just seeing her flipping out on people on Twitter. I'd never heard one of her songs until you were discussing her about things she was saying on Twitter. And then I listened to that 212 song. Very talented, very awesome beat, but yes, extremely naughty in the lyrics.
Extremely rude. But she's like unlike any other artist out there. She just has something going on for herself. The thing is, lots of people have a problem with her because this is why I started following her a long time ago, because she keeps getting into fights with random people, with everybody. She even got into a fight with Elon Musk at some point over some random stuff, and then starts just saying outrageous things and getting sometimes just making completely messed up racist remarks when she disagrees with somebody, and just fighting with everyone over everything. So she's a kind of a funny person. But yeah, so she recently said that she doesn't like Islam at all, and she doesn't want to support anything Islam because Islam is an evil, messed up religion that is also bigly pro-slavery and also enslaved black people in the past brutally and so on. To which I then sat down and agreed with her and made a video about it, and she shared it. So fantastic. Fantastic. This is why AP is still a catch-human listening to very obscene music. Well, to be fair, I listened to her music like many years ago. And at some point, I wasn't even listening to it actually for listening, because I was just exploring it because I thought this is very, very creative. But then at some point, I was working out and listening to it and thought, hey, this goes really well with working out. Yeah. Anyway, Crusades 2.0. Are they happening? Are they starting? Maybe. Maybe they're starting. Black Angel said, "What's her best song?" You judge for yourself. I don't want to recommend any of her songs at this moment in life. So, Josiah. Yeah, sure. So today we're actually going to talk about an Orthodox Christian priest, and we talked about him before in the past. And David remembers this very well because he always remembers when we talk about Orthodox priests. He's like, "Whoa, this is the best thing I've heard in my entire life."
Is this a guy who was all like based and talking about Islamic history and stuff like that?
Yeah. He was. That's him. He went on Ruslan and recently had a long conversation with Ruslan. Shout out to Ruslan, by the way. I was also supposed to meet up with Ruslan and do an interview with him, and I canceled that. So I will probably do that next month.
Let that be a lesson to everyone. If you schedule anything with AP, he will just cancel as soon as it pops into his head to cancel.
Powerful. Just a comment about this. So lots of people have said, people have asked me if I'm going to review the debate that I had yesterday. And the thing is, I still don't really call it a debate because it wasn't meant to be a debate. Thank you, first off, the Kelly Osto. I went into the discussion very clearly with the intention to have an actual good faith discussion with Trent Doherty. And the thing is,
I was just about to go to it to check the comments. So I went on to YouTube, and then Jay Dyer is live right now. Jay Dyer's live, and it says Trent Horn refuted Catholics, Muslims, and Jews worship the same God, but it has a picture of the Pope kissing a Muslim. Oh, anyway, that's what I was laughing at.
That's very rude.
It's pretty funny going on. This is what you're doing, Cameron.
Yeah, I saw somebody else say, "I'm a Catholic, and what Cameron is doing is very, very bad for our church and all that." Now here's the thing. So I had a good discussion with Cameron yesterday, prior to and also during the discussion and also afterward. So I thank Cameron for arranging that, for doing that. He is the one who invited me to have a discussion with Trent Doherty, and I accepted it, and I went there and discussed. And my intention was just to go there and to ask clarifying questions, to somehow try to understand, to build bridges, but also to offer to Trent Doherty the Islamic perspective on things, and to make it clear that it's just not acceptable to people across the board to say that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. So I did go there, and I was very surprised about much of what was said during the discussion, because Trent Doherty, I'm going to be very honest. I said to him after the discussion, I said thank you and I appreciate this and no hard feelings and all that. But during the discussion, at some points things got a little bit heated, and I tried to stay calm and cool.
Did he challenge you to fight?
But no, he did challenge me to. He did offer me $1,000 though.
Oh yeah, take it.
Actually, I'm gonna check that out in a second. That's kind of a funny point here. But there were certain points. There was a point in the discussion where I actually had the feeling where it was going a little bit too far, and it was like touching a little bit of a zealous part, I guess, that I have inside me with my newfound faith in Christianity, where I almost wanted to say, you know what, you don't sound like a Christian at all. This is like pure heresy. What the hell? But then I thought to myself, okay, no, I can't do that. I'm in no position to do that. Just be quiet about it. So And then I tried to understand and reconcile and all that, but I did point out to him that the things that he says are like don't seem to me to be don't seem to me compatible with Christianity, nor even with the Catholic Church. It just went a little bit too far. So
Yes, when it comes to like the stuff we read in Vatican II, I'm kind of like, okay, this is not a good way to put things, even if I can kind of see, and we think about various qualifications and explanations and so on. I can kind of see where you're coming from. But then to defend it, these guys are using arguments which seem to me to lead inevitably to like massively blasphemous nonsense.
yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, if that's what it takes to defend what Vatican II has said, that's a different story. So that's creepy. Yeah, check out the comments. Look at that. That was funny. Look at that. Holy crap. Trent said if a religion was started by satanic deception, it wouldn't be the same God, but later said if Islam was started by a demonic deception, they would still be worshiping the same God.
He did.
That happened? I've heard he contradicted himself a bunch.
Yes, he did. He also did this here, and he did promise me $1,000, and I said I'm not gonna.
Cha-ching.
I said I'm fine with it. I'm not gonna ask you for it.
Just make sure he pays in shekels. That would be 3,000 shekels.
But somebody did put it here in the chat in the comments. Let me see the timestamps for when he said it and when he claimed he didn't say it. Somebody had it here. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Where is it? Where is it, man? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
You already went by like a million timestamps, so
I know. I know what approximate it is. I think
maybe
it's like
Cameron erased it.
I think it's 115 and 129 something. So, and who do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus, will be punished and will be punished with everlasting destruction and shut out from the presence of the Lord. You try to explain to me that Muslims do fit the criteria because they do know God and they also often do obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, which seems so. When you were doing that, you were seemingly implying.
Oh, hang on.
Look, he already denied it right here, and then he's going to continue denying it.
Hang on, dude. It's one of the top comments. They include they include one timestamp. It says just before the 90-minute mark, Trent denies saying Muslims know God.
Okay. I'm there. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay, I got it. So you are denying that there is salvation for them. I don't really understand.
I'll pay you.
Why were you trying to make the point
AP?
that they do know God?
AP?
Yes.
I will pay you $1,000
Here we are.
if replaying the tape proves me saying that, I'll pay you $1,000.
Okay, so if
You did say
replaying
that.
I didn't say that.
You did say that.
Oh,
Everyone in the
Cameron
chat
says
assumed that you said that.
even Cameron says you did say that.
Yeah, Cameron, your best buddy in the whole world.
I said it makes it possible. My position on this has been absolutely.
And now let's go back to the timestamp.
It's 1:15:38.
Let's see, 1:15:38. Let's check it out. If he did say.
Wait, hang on. Just to be clear, you say you criticize his position for claiming that Muslims know God, and he says, "I'll give you $1,000 if you show me where I say that."
Yeah.
And then Cameron Bertuzzi and everyone in the chat apparently says, "No, that's exactly what you said." And then he says, "No, I'm saying it's possible."
I'm saying that Muslims do know God. So
dude, that's $1,000 right there. Okay, guys, if he does not pay AP $1,000, all of his I'll pay you $100. I'll pay you. It's all nonsense. He's not going to pay, right? And he should not be taken seriously. If you say I'm saying Muslims do know God, and then 15 minutes later, hey, you say Muslims know God, what? I'll give you $1,000 if you ever say that. If you show me where I say that.
It's so funny because it's right here. You go through it and it's like, I'm saying Muslims do know God.
And many Muslims do.
Dude, have you not shared a clip just of him going back and forth
Muslim, because
you're nice now. That's what I'm saying. Old AP would have been all over that.
If this was a Muslim, I would have done that immediately, probably. but I don't want to. I don't know. This is not what I went into this discussion for. I found it kind of messed up that it turned into this. It was very, and I also asked him, like, we were talking about what he and his side means when they say that that Muslims worship the same God, right? And we said many times, like I said, for example, insofar that Muslims intend to worship the God of Abraham, but then end up, worshiping their understanding of the God of Abraham. Insofar as they intend to worship that God, I agree with you that they worship that God. That's your position, right? I asked him, and he said, "No, my position is more than that." In fact, let me get there. Let me go there. Let me find directly that place. That was a little bit shocking to me, man. That was a little bit shocking to me. Intend. Let's look. Intend.
Apparently the other Trent posted, do Christians and Muslims worship the same God today? I think that may be what Jay is responding to.
Let's look here. Difference
Multiple Trents, man.
And the issue is that there is a difference in how worship is defined, with how you worship, how you define worship, and how the other side defines worship. When you say that Muslims worship the same God, all you are saying is that they intend to or turn toward their understanding of the God of Abraham, right? And
I mean more than that. I mean a lot more than that.
what do you mean? In brief, to help me understand that.
Like whatever it is that we are doing when we worship, you can. So note that I'm not giving a intentional definition. I'm giving an extensional definition. Okay. So I'm saying whatever it is, we don't even have to argue about the definition. I'm saying whatever it is that Christians are doing when we're worshiping God is what they're doing.
Did you hear that?
Whatever we're doing, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. There's just no way that I can accept that, or that the Christian side, on the other hand, can accept that. It's just this is so ridiculous, and I don't know. It was a little bit confusing to me. And the thing is, I don't even think that this is the Catholic position. There are lots of people who because of this say, "Wow, Catholicism is insane. Catholics are insane." The thing is, so while the Catholic Church does have certain stances on this, such as that Muslims in some way worship the same God, what Trent is saying here is not even the Catholic position. It goes much further than the Catholic position. So I want to tell people, I wanted to say this earlier. This guy does not represent the Catholic Church. This goes far. This seems to me heretical, even by the standards of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, this seems wild. That's why I was mentioning. Like, I can kind of see defending what Vatican II says, right? Like, here's what this really means, and okay, maybe in that sense, it's just, is it really helpful if you're saying this when I don't see what good is. It seems like it's just going to create massive confusion. Everyone's going to go around saying, "Oh, we all worship the same God," and that's going to lead to why are we preaching the gospel to people? Keep in mind, that's not what these guys are saying. They're not saying stop preaching God. I'm saying it without massive amounts of qualification and clarification, it can come across that way. So anyway, what Trent is saying, the arguments he's using seem to lead, like, inevitably to deranged, blasphemous nonsense, like horrible. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, okay, you have this Catholic position, Vatican II, and so on. Maybe I don't know, but maybe by a stretch of the mind, I can kind of see that. Still disagree. Not a good way to put things. Probably don't put things that way, but I don't think you're insane for saying that. But then you've got the guys, Trent and Cameron, who are defending the position, and it's like, wait, if that's what you need to defend the position, then this sounds insane. Now, this does sound insane if that's what's required to defend Vatican II.
Like, for example, and you say if they don't derive it from the Bible, then they probably don't worship the same God. I don't really understand that position. If we were talking about a hypothetical, and we said that there is a religion somewhere in the Mediterranean that comes into existence, where they have a new god named Mamumu, for example, who demands them to collect as many women as possible and to sacrifice them to their one god. But they also fully and devoutly believe that this is actually the true god, and that our god is false. Would you, for example,
Yeah.
say
Well,
that
then
it is
sure.
clear idolatry?
Is there concept of God, the creator and sustainer of the world?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, they're referring to God.
Well, he was also saying Muslims are doing the exact same thing in worship, right? They're doing the same thing in worship, and then you give the example, and then he's saying, "Yeah,
This is too much, man.
yeah, guys." I mean, just think about it. Like Muslims with their worship, they're reciting Surat Al-Fatiha a bunch of times a day, right? And Surat Al-Fatiha, one, they're just repeating an Arabic prayer. But in that prayer is a prayer not to be like Christians, not to be like Christians. And so praying not to be like Christians and just reciting it in Arabic is the same thing we're doing. I don't know.
Wild.
Seems weird.
Wild. Anyway, I see some people were going through this interview. I don't personally want to review it myself, so I think enough has been said, and the only thing that I would hope for is that this just serves as as an example of things not to say and not to think as a Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, for everyone who's you've got the people who are, hey, don't respond to this. We were hearing it earlier when we were on with IP and stuff. It was, you do have people who are like, hey, I don't see why you're arguing about this. Stop, focus on something else. Keep in mind, guys, that's not on us. That's on people who keep pushing the issue. We're simply responding. But guess what? Sometimes you need to respond and crush a position to teach people that they shouldn't make this the hill that they want to take their stand on, right? In other words, if we all just, we don't want to argue because it's other Christians, so we don't want to argue about this. We don't want to cause a scene here. Well, then you just keep running with it, right? You want to make them go, oh man, we shouldn't have brought this up. We shouldn't keep saying this stuff because this is not good. So you kind of have to respond and show why it's dumb.
Yeah, that's true. That's what they do. Let's take a few super chats and then we can get to the topic of the day, which is the Beast Crusades. Ayatollah Khamenei said, "Greetings to all Christians and Islamo-Catholics." Hey,
we've got Christians and Islamo-Catholics. It's funny, that's becoming the criticism that they're all, since the Catholics are saying we worship the same God as Muslims. Now everyone's pointing out where that leads.
I really like Catholics, and I really like the Catholic tradition and the Catholic history and all that. So I have a lot of respect for Catholicism, despite my disagreements. So, while there's some fun to it, I don't know. That's just.
Well, it's just funny because.
David died. Hey, you're dead, man. I can't hear you. David is dead. David is dead. Where's my "you're hiding" button, man? I can't find my "you're hiding" button.
You're hiding, boy. You're hiding.
Okay. Well, at least now I know that I am not the one who is dead. It's just David who's dead. Let me know. Maybe he's continuing to talk this entire time, thinking that we can still hear him or something. I don't know. You froze. Huh. He said internet is becoming unusable. Okay, that's funny. That is very, very funny. That's very funny, man. Very, very funny. Now we gotta wait for David to come back. Taken Theology says, AP, your performance in class with Dr. Trent Doherty was fantastic. God bless you and your work. Praying for all Catholics right now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yo, no cap, pause. Why does thumbnail look like Muhammad getting the Azut treatment, or as Mossab calls it, the falafel experience? It's because it is. Jack Ray, yay, AP is late, so all is normal. When AP is early, things are burning. That's exactly how it works. I'm glad you figured that out. Glad we got that established, man. Apple Baker, all Puff Daddy, David Wood, has your router been repaired? Good to go. I guess here you have your answer. He just froze and disappeared. That's funny. That's funny. As soon as he rejoins, I'll put him on the screen. As soon as he rejoins, I'll put him on the screen. Soon as he joins, I'll put. I saw this post earlier, this tweet earlier, which was kind of funny. And I don't want to make this joke, but people were just, this is kind of getting out of hand. This guy Antonio says, people tell you to convert to the Catholic Church, but then don't specify Sunni or Shia. Not funny, man. Not funny. Stop making jokes about Catholics. Apostate of Allah, the amount of slough is overwhelming. True. Ayatollah Khamenei, I want to do a remake of the show Soul Train, but it's called Cope Train. It's just Catholic YouTubers begrudgingly dancing alongside a cardboard cutout of Muhammad. Dude, stop mocking Catholics. The Catholic Church didn't do anything wrong. It was Trent Doherty. He did it. Miro 409. So did you enjoy getting told what Muslims believe by a Catholic who doesn't know anything about Islam, AP? Yeah, that was also kind of weird. He was trying to tell me that Muslims do actually totally believe that believe in the gospel and in the Torah, and I'm like, no, they don't, man. And then I explained to him what Muslims actually believe, such as that they think that the Gospels or the Gospel and the Torah were at some point revealed or sent down by Allah, but then got corrupted and are no longer available and no longer there. They're like, that's not true. And I said, yeah, they believe it's corrupted and you can't trust it anymore. And then he's like, well, I don't see how that contradicts what I said. Dude, what? It was very difficult to communicate with him. I don't know. I expected better. I expected truly better. But yeah, Muslims do not worship the same God. Muslims worship something very evil that is in their heads. Nectar AD, Yo AP and the Dizzle, Middle Tennessee represent. David is not here. Are you going to come back, man? What is this? I was going to review some good stuff here. How about... Is it going to work out? Is it going to work out? Okay. Viati Vistu, Azalea Banks likely has a personality disorder. Well, maybe. So does David. So the nuclear Mahdi Jew, the new Pope fights Crusades with drive-bys. That's what I heard too. Yeah. That's what I heard as well. Boas Vi Brazilian, what's up? What's up? Very, very, very nice of you. Thank you. Shalom, just paying jizya. God bless you too and your families. Thank you. Appreciate it very, very much. Truly appreciate it. Ice Cream Sword. Trent was so insufferable that he would still have lost even if he were right. Trent's tone was hostile the entire time and stated he believed the Quran was both divinely inspired and made a twisted version of God. What? LOL. Yeah. I went into that discussion thinking Trent might have good arguments, but you showed the flaws in them and kept you cool. Great testimony, Cathuman. Thank you. Appreciate that. I tried to keep it a little bit Socratic at first, but then did start arguing more with him because it got too ridiculous to stay just Socratic. Diddy Wood, you are making me very angry. He's making everyone angry. Wing Wong. David. Side note, where can I get that intro music? You can't. That's my intro music. I made it. So what I did was I once upon a time found it online somewhere on YouTube. I think it was one of those humming Islamic songs, nasheeds. And I thought, hey, this sounds kind of cool. I was looking for royalty-free, copyright-free Islamic humming tunes, and I found it. I thought this sounds interesting. I bet if I put a beat on that, it would sound even better. So I started experimenting with it, and it turned out very, very fantastic. So that's what it is. I did it myself. Miro, biggest problem is how Trent dismisses the entire importance of how you worship. This is shown both in Cain and Abel, and on the story of eldest sons of Aaron, the first high priest of Israel, who got killed for improperly worshipping him. Yeah, yeah. This is also the point that the Orthodox side makes, that that Jay Dyer and Father Deacon Ananias made, for example, in the debate that they had with the two of them, and admittedly, the Orthodox side in that debate has a very rigid and a very strict definition of what worship means, because they established that in order to call it worship and worship of God, it has to be in line with how worship is supposed to be in the revelation by God. You have to engage with the revelation and worship God in the way that He is intended to be worshipped, with the sacrifices and everything, and with a complete, true understanding and faith in the essence of God, and so on. So, of course, with that perspective, they could never accept any such idea that Muslims also worship the same God. But their perspective also, with their perspective, it's actually impossible to argue in any way that Muslims even come close to worshiping the same God. But then, so my understanding of worshiping the same God, and there he is, it would be much more, lax compared to their perspective. But my argument is that not even, let alone true worship, right? Let alone worshiping God the way He is intended to be worshipped, even just in terms of referencing the same God, or thinking of the same God. Muslims don't even do that. Muslims reference the God of Abraham, that they created him in their own minds, within their own religion. What's happening, man? Muslims worship the God of Abraham as they created him in their own minds, a corrupt version of it. And this is why, for example, during the debate yesterday, I gave this example, which I stole from David, to be very honest. So Trent kept making this whole comparison to Superman and Clark Kent, and said, well, but if you refer to Superman or to Clark Kent, and you describe Clark Kent, but somebody else describes Superman, then they're still describing the same person, and so on. And I said, that's not the same thing. It's a false equivalence. The more accurate comparison here would be to say that somebody describes this guy Bizarro, and somebody else describes Superman. You can't argue then that Bizarro is also Superman. You can't say that they're describing the same person, because these are two different things. This guy here is a bad version, a bad copy, a bad mirror of Superman. And this is exactly the issue with the Islamic Allah. This is David's argument. Hey, David, did you give me this stupid idea? I actually used this argument.
I was using General Zod. By the way, I don't know how my they said they can't. We actually contacted a technician. They can't get out till Sunday. But anyway, my internet is like going way up and then way down, then way up, then way down. And so it keeps cutting out. Anyway, no, I said, I used General Zod, right? Because it was pointed out that
and who brought up this?
someone brought it up in response, and I said, that's a better example. That is a better
Okay.
example, right? So in other words, for this, the thing that's going on is we're saying, hey, Allah and the God of the Bible, you can point out some similarities, but you can point out some massive differences. And the response is, but if Lois Lane was describing Clark Kent, she would be describing him differently from the way she describes Superman. And so you can have different descriptions. But notice that's called begging the question. It's because they're assuming that we're talking about the same God and then using that as a response. And so a better example would be, okay, if you hear about a guy who's got super strength and he's wearing a blue costume and he's got a red cape and so on, sounds like Superman, but are we talking about the same guy? Well, he's got super strength. He's wearing a blue costume. He's got a red cape on and so on. So sounds like the same guy. Well, it's not. This is Bizarro, and he's the opposite of Superman in various ways. So why not look at it like that?
So this is where I kind of briefly brought that up. I didn't go into detail, but
So
just to
we would
counter
say
his
we would
example.
say that Allah is Bizarro God.
Yes.
Don't say he's God. Say he's Bizarro God.
But everybody knows that's a mistake. Every philosopher of language in the world knows that's a mistake.
Well, this is the
when Lois Lane says the sentence, Clark Kent is a weakling and a coward. Okay, she sees this guy, right? She's looking at him. And she's looking, she's saying, that guy over there, what a coward and a weakling. It's so embarrassing. Is she thinking about Superman? Is she referring, is the thoughts that she's having about the actual guy who's Superman?
I think it's a false equivalence. You could bring that equivalence.
Let's get to the equivalence.
Okay.
Hey, dude, there's actually an example that I just saw that would be good here from a show. Could even include the clip in a video, but I didn't see the show, but I saw a bunch of YouTube clips of there's this messed up show called Invincible. Anyway, all these other Invincibles come from different dimensions, and then like his little brother sees him and starts flying to him. Yay, invincible! And then it turns out to be the guy turns around. He's got blood all over his face, and he looked exactly like Invincible, and then you're finding out you're dealing with a complete homicidal version from a different dimension. That's kind of what we're talking about, Trent.
You just made it up, man. What is that? That sounds completely wrong.
Yeah, the point is, if that's your go-to example, we can very easily think of other examples, even ones that are on popular shows and stuff like that. Like, how do you ever say you're talking about two different people or two different individuals or something like that?
Yep.
Superman.
Oh no, she's looking at Clark Kent.
But Clark Kent is Superman, so she is looking at Superman.
Well,
she just doesn't understand. She just doesn't know that. She just doesn't know it. She doesn't realize it. And in the same way, people say that God that Abraham proclaimed, Abraham's God, or this God that the Christians are talking about, the creator and sustainer of all things, he's not incarnate. He never did get incarnate. And when you contradict somebody and you say, oh no, he isn't incarnate, and oh no, he didn't ever become incarnate, you are referring to the same being, no matter how messed up your idea of that thing is. There is literally no amount of mistake or error that can cause a reference or a denotation to fail when you have those clear causal connections.
Nope.
It's just a total, absolute red herring.
So when somebody refers to Bizarro Superman, are they also referring to Superman?
I'd have to see how the story goes.
They don't. This is why I said that this is a false equivalence, because the correct equivalence, the correct example, the correct analogy would be. That was his attitude the entire time, man.
Yeah, that's just annoying, because you're making a valid response here. Like, and you could flesh it out. You could say, hey, if you have a bunch of people and Bizarro shows up and people say, hey, it's Superman. That probably happened in the comics and so on. But hey, it's Superman. If they're calling Bizarro Superman, does that mean that if you are, let's suppose you start worshiping Bizarro, that you're worshiping Superman? If you're confused about it, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's the fact that Trent is making it sound like this is obvious and indisputable, and it's not. It's not. You can, for every example you use, you can easily think of other examples that go in the opposite direction. So why this like condescending attitude the entire time?
And if God, on the one hand, revealed himself as the God of Abraham, as he is revealed in the Bible, and on the other hand, revealed himself as this messed up great deceiver who is a horrible tyrant called Allah, with a name that is Allah, not even by the name Yahweh, in the Quran. If he revealed himself with these two different manifestations of his, and so those who believe in the Bible pointed at the God of Abraham as he is in the Bible, and those who believe in the Quran or in Islam pointed at the ignorant, messed up tyrant in the Quran, and they called that guy Allah and this guy God, and God was always the same being, just revealing himself in different forms, then your example would make sense. That's not, however, what's happening. In reality, when we're talking about God, the God of the Bible is only one God. He is the God of the Bible. We know his story in the Bible. We know his revelation. We know his fulfillment in Christ in the Bible. He is not the same God who reveals himself in the Quran. The God of the Quran is a completely messed up counterfeit of the God of the Bible. And this is why this is a false evidence.
It's just you're just not.
I have to say that was a brilliant point, and if I may say so myself.
Most humble AP. Hey, you should always say. You should always say. I would say that was a brilliant point if I weren't the most humble.
And he never even. This is the problem. It's like he has this attitude problem the entire time, and he's acting as if he's saying some like completely commonsensical and wonderfully logical stuff, and people who disagree with him just don't get it. And like, dude.
And again, I mean, given the argument that he's using, all this requires is someone to claim that that anything is the God of the Bible, and you then have to go along and say, "Oh yeah, then we worship the same God." I mean, again, if you had someone who worships an army of goat demons, and they say one of the goat demons we worship is the God of the Bible, you have to now say, according to Trent Doherty, you have to now say that we worship the same God as the people who worship the little goat demon, because they say that's the God of the Bible, and therefore they're referring to the same thing, and therefore we worship the same thing. That's
Hey, David,
insane.
did you see this?
People tell you to convert to the Catholic Church, but then don't specify Sunni or Shia. I'm seeing a lot of this. It's pretty funny. It's kind of messed up, and it's like you guys brought this on yourselves. You're saying Catholics and Muslims worship the same God. So what are you doing? This is becoming Catholics saying we worship the same God as Muslims, and then other people saying, Orthodox and Protestants going, but we don't worship the same God as Muslims. Therefore, it's Orthodox and Protestants and Catholics and Muslims. Wow.
No offense, Catholics. You know I love you.
Yeah, we love you, but you need better arguments and less dumb points.
Anyway, let's finally get into the topic. But before that, Wing Wong says, Diddy Wood, you are making me very angry. Foot Manor said, Trent openly said in the debate that he doesn't think Islam is a satanic deception. Respectfully, Trent knows nothing of being beat in the desert. This is true. If he just knew what it means to be beat in the desert.
Did you ask him if he agrees that the eyes are the leather strap of the anus?
I forgot that, man. I should have said that. I forgot that. Oh, by the way, speaking of based things, actually, let me first look at this here. Jesus is King says, keep up the good work. Jesus saves. Really encourage you guys to discover the book Prayers That Rout Demons by John Eckert. Powerful. God bless. Thank you. Appreciate that very, very much. Powerful.
Hey, it would be funny if we used like normal modern terminology and like prayers that intellectually molest demons.
Prayers
we use hijab. That'd be like hijab's prayer book. Prayers that intellectually humiliate and molest demons.
Prayers that zoot the demons.
Prayers that zoot the demons in
the
desert.
Sam Shimon is an Islamic Catholic. Hey,
people have been saying Sam now holds that position that if The same position that these guys are talking about, that
No,
if Islam comes out with some satanic demonic god, but then Muslims eventually say, yeah, that's the God of the Bible, that we then all worship the same God.
I think Sam has a more nuanced position on that thing. In fact, Sam, after my discussion with Trent, Sam, who is a Catholic and who is on the Catholic side of the debate, and who also joined them, went on his own channel live and actually said that he watched the debate and he said it was terrible on Trent's behalf. And Sam said, I agree more with Apostate Prophet than with Trent on this, despite disagreeing with his position, because Trent said some really unacceptable things. So that's what Sam said on his own channel. While he also kind of disagrees with my idea of what, of worship and all that, and he does agree that Muslims in a way somehow direct worship at the God of the Bible. I don't want to misrepresent him. I don't exactly know his position. I don't exactly fully understand it. I haven't listened to it in full, but he doesn't exactly have the same position. So he probably has a little bit more of a Muslims intend to worship our God, but are influenced by Satan position or something like that.
Yep, that's what's interesting. It's like, okay, when Trent comes out and debates, when he has his little 5-minute intro and stuff like that, he makes an argument where even if you disagree, like, okay, I see where he's coming from. But then when various challenges are raised, if he has to keep digging himself deeper and deeper and deeper into this blasphemous hole, it kind of says something about your position. If you have to keep getting more and more blasphemous and more insane to defend it, then maybe your position's just wrong on this.
It do. So Sam doesn't agree with that, but I also don't want to misrepresent his position. So I would leave it to him to explain what his position is. Somebody earlier went and said to him, I saw him live. Somebody said to him that, why do you now believe Muslims worship the same God while you also in the past said Muslims worship Satan? And he said, you misrepresented my position and you lied about me. I never said anything like that. And he then asked that person to explain to him what he thinks Sam thinks, and he said, well, I think that you, Sam, think that that Muslims also worship, our God, the God of the Bible. And Sam said, no, you misrepresented my position. So Sam doesn't hold that position. I think he has more nuance in that.
Wasn't he just on a show with these guys where they were all?
Yeah.
So he wasn't agreeing with them.
He was agreeing with them in some way.
Did you see it? Did you watch it?
No. Not entirely. I mean, only parts of it. He was agreeing with them. I think I think his agreement with them was more a perspective that I expected to hear when I went into a discussion with Trent, and then I heard something completely blasphemous and heretical and nonsensical. And so Sam has a more regular position that is kind of in line with the Vatican, and is something that we might understand a little bit more. I don't know. Sassy Dan said Richard the Lionheart and Godfrey of Bouillon was punching the air in heaven after Vatican II. Very, very rude. Very rude.
Oh, dude, this is perfect, man.
What?
Hang on.
And Winkle. Yes, it's okay.
Hang on. You can get Sam's position. Someone actually asks him specifically about it. Go to the we'll just watch him answer during the live stream with Trent. So if he's going to say this is not his position, he specifically asked what his position is. Go over to that other video. I'll tell you exactly what time to go to as soon as I find it.
Is it where
but it looks like his 2 back-to-back questions specifically for Sam on that issue.
You mean on the stream where he joined them after?
It's called Exposing Jay Dyer.
Okay, this here.
Is that Exposing Jay Dyer?
Exposing Jay Dyer.
Yeah, so it's like 24. Scroll through to 24 something. Sorry, my thing's buffering now on this.
24, you said?
24 something, but someone asked him about it. The question's on the screen. Yeah, see? Look. Find the beginning of that question, not the next one. Right there. I agree with old Sam.
Is Baal, aka the evil one.
Can I clarify
What's that about, Sam?
Yeah,
He's never
you
changed his
see-
position.
Yeah. See, here's why I really, if they had just watched my series, I really, really, really dislike when people who claim to be Christians will slander and lie and misrepresent, because we serve the God of truth. Jesus Christ says he's the truth. So at the very least, if we truly fear Jesus Christ, as some of these cowards claim, then they want to accurately represent the opposition, not demonize them, because that means you are of your father, the devil. And I'm not
Okay, give your position. We're waiting for it.
If you've actually,
I find it so funny how Sam is very much more reserved in his wording when he responds to people when he's together with others.
gone back, I haven't changed my position, because I'm talking about
Okay, hang on. That's
Allah
interesting.
in pre-Islamic Arabia, according to the Muslim sources. I'm getting this from Muslim sources. I'm not getting it from just willy-nilly. When I study the Muslim sources, Ibn Kathir, I'm not trying to name drop. Ibn Kathir, Ibn Ishaq, they state, and I've documented this, they state that the chief god of the Kaaba, the chief god of Mecca, the Lord of the Kaaba, is Hubal.
Hubal. Uh-huh.
According to those sources,
Who's from Baal?
Hubal is an idol that was imported from Syria. There is a man that Islam, now again, you may deny Islamic tradition because you have some outstanding scholars like Jay Smith, love that brother, Robert Spencer, who don't believe in the Islamic narrative. They believe that the Islamic narrative is too late and it's fictionalized. Be that as it may, I'm going with the sources deemed authentic by Muslims. They say a man named Amr ibn Luhay went to Syria, and one source even says that the Amalekites, calls them Amalekites. Another source says the Moabites gave them an idol of their chief god. Well, read your Bible. The Moabites worship Baal. So Baal, however you want to pronounce it. Now notice, Hubal. So some think it's an Arabicized form of he is Baal, or an Arabicized bastardization of Ha-Baal. Whatever the case is, if anyone knows anything about paganism, you have shrines. A shrine will be erected to one particular deity, right? So if the shrine in Mecca was erected for the worship of Hubal, and Hubal is Baal, that means the Allah of pre-Islamic pagan Arabs is Baal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you actually represent me correctly,
Yes.
Muhammad comes along and he takes a little bit here, a little bit there, mixes it up, and according to him, that Allah that the pagans worship is the same Allah that the Jews and Christians worship. So he dissociates Allah from its pagan roots and presents him as the God of Abraham. So if you're asking me, what is the roots?
So at that point, he's still not the same God that Christians and Jews worship, right?
That's the question. Is he now saying, well, at that point he becomes the same God you're worshiping, or?
Let's continue. Let's see.
Of Allah, of the pagan Arabs, it is Baal worship, but that's the deception of Satan. He's now repackaged it so that Muslims no longer know or realize that this Allah of pagan Arabs is Baal, because he's duped them to thinking it's the God of Abraham. And that's what the Catholic Church is saying, that they profess to adore the
No,
God.
no, that's not what the Catholic Church is saying.
With Yahweh.
But brother, you've been saying this.
Dude, look, he just said, so all the Catholic Church is saying is that they profess to be to have the same. No, if the Catholic Church was saying Muslims profess to have the same God as the God of the Bible, I would say yes. Yes, they do. It's they worship and adore the same God. That's the issue.
Now I'm confused, Sam.
If you say Muslims claim that they worship the same God, that I would grant that. Yeah, they claim all kinds of things. If the church says they worship and adore the same God, that's not Muslims claiming it. That's the church claiming it.
I am now confused, Sam, because I agree with what you just said, that is what Muslims do. But that's not the position of the church. The position of the church is right here.
Yeah, it actually says it. It says they profess this, but then it goes on to say, and yeah, it's correct.
So here's Nostra Aetate. It says, the church regards with esteem also the Muslims. They adore the one God, living and subsisting in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth, who has spoken to men. They adore the one God, living and subsisting in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth, who has spoken to men. Muslims do that. They take pains to submit wholeheartedly to even his inscrutable decrees, just as Abraham, with whom the faith of Islam takes pleasure in linking itself, submitted to God. So just as Abraham submitted to God. Though they do not acknowledge Jesus as God, they revere him as a prophet. They also honor Mary, his virgin mother. At times they even call on her with devotion. Now I don't want to distract, but I'm still curious as to what
we
in
don't
the
know what
world
that's
is
referring to.
what in the world this is in reference to, because Muslims definitely do not invoke or call upon Mary with devotion. In addition, they await the day of judgment when God will render their deserts to all those who have been raised up from the dead. Finally, they value the moral life and worship God, especially through prayer, almsgiving, and fasting. Since in the course of centuries, not a few quarrels and nostalgias have arisen between Christianity and Muslims, Christians and Muslims, the Sacred Synod urges all to forget the past and to work sincerely for mutual understanding. Now, this is, in my opinion, very, very dangerous and counterproductive, especially is also in contradiction with what we are doing. And unfortunately, this is a binding synod here. This is an ecumenical council for Catholics. And to preserve as well as to promote together for the benefit of all mankind social justice and moral warfare, as well as peace and freedom. It says here, Muslims adore the one God, living and subsisting in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth. It doesn't say that they are deceived into thinking that it is the same God, but they actually worship the God of, they worship Baal or anything like that. Let's listen to what Sam said one more time here.
Yeah, because as far as now, he's just wrong about what the church is saying. They say part of that this is what Muslims profess, but that's not all they're saying. So, if he's saying he agrees with them insofar as this is what Muslims are professing, I would say I would agree too. But that's not what we're objecting to as far as Vatican II or Trent's argument.
Powerful.
It is Baal worship, but that's the deception of Satan. He's now repackaged it so that Muslims no longer know or realize that this Allah of pagan Arabs is Baal, because he's duped them to thinking it's the God of Abraham. And that's what the Catholic Church is saying, that they profess to adore the God of Abraham, because that's what the Quran says. It doesn't say, hey, this is Baal and he's in.
The Catholic Church doesn't say that this is just what they profess to do. It says that they actually do it.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what he's just saying. Hey, they've duped you into thinking it's the same God. Well, then they duped the Catholic Church into thinking it's the same God because Vatican II says it's the same God. So I don't know what he's saying there. Go ahead.
And here is Lumen Gentium, which says in 16, but the plan of salvation also includes those who acknowledge the Creator. In the first place, amongst these, there are the Muslims who profess to hold the faith of Abraham. Like, okay, with this, you profess to hold the faith. Okay, good. Yes, okay. Everything okay so far. Along with us, adore the one and merciful God.
Along with us, adore the one and merciful God. So this is not saying they're duped into thinking that they've got the right God and that they're actually worshiping Baal, who you've been duped into thinking is the one God. This is Vatican II saying, no, they adore the one God with us together.
Muslims do not adore the one merciful God with us. They simply do not. That's it.
I think you should finish.
This is what the Vatican says here.
I think you should finish playing whatever he says, just in case there's something that we're missing.
Brother, you've been saying the same thing for a decade or more, brother.
The
same thing you've been saying. Yep.
Yeah, but that's not helping. That's not helping Vatican II or Trent, because
raise my blood pressure. That's why I'm in the kitchen. I'm about to fry some people.
I would agree with what Sam just said.
And Trent certainly doesn't agree with that. So.
I would agree with what Sam just said about Islam, but I don't agree with him about what Vatican II is saying.
Yeah.
Right.
So
school and like talk to like do a boxing exhibition. I don't know if y'all know who.
I know they're talking about boxing.
I challenge you to fight in a Mubahala.
Well, this is just getting kind of.
Okay, guys, does anyone know? Did Sam explain anything like more than that? Because if that's his position, then he's just wrong about Vatican II, but he's right about Muslims, and he's not saying that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. He's saying that Muslims have been duped into thinking that we all worship the same God. But then you'd have to say that the Catholic Church has been duped into saying that too.
This is the position that I hold. We in Turkey liturgize in various languages, but something worth noting is that the liturgy is also done in the Turkish language because we have in Ankara and Smyrna and in Constantinople many autochthonous people of the country, native Muslims, who willingly converted to Christianity, and they submit written requests stating that they want to embrace Christianity. Their requests are then examined. The ones interested are then catechized.
Και όταν έλθει το πλήρωμα του χρόνου βαπτίζονται και εντάσσονται στην Ορθόδοξον κοινότητα μιας εκ των πόλεων τας οποίας ανέφερα. Είναι ένα σημείο των καιρών ότι υπάρχουν κατηχούμενοι, βαπτιζόμενοι, μεταστρεφόμενοι από άλλη θρησκεία στην ειδική μας. Θρησκεία η οποία λατρεύει και προσκυνεί των μόνων αληθινών τριαδικών θεών. Δόξα τω Θεώ πάντων ένεκε.
This is what I agree with. That people from other religions, like Islam, as he is saying here, convert to our religion, which adores and worships the one true triune God.
Προσκυνεί των μόνων αληθινών τριαδικών θεών. Doxa to Theo.
Doxa to Theo. Glory to God. This is what I agree with. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, do you want to finally review the crusade video?
Who was that dude?
That dude was Patriarch Bartholomew, the
yeah?
patriarch of the ecumenical patriarchate of Constantinople.
Hey, look at this. New York City Tom 8 says, I disagree. Sam is not wrong about Vatican II. You're pretending it's a blanket same God when it's clearly nuanced. Sam is saying all that Vatican II is saying is that Muslims have been duped into thinking that they worship the same God, and therefore they profess to be following the God of Abraham. If that's all, so if you're saying he's not wrong, then I would not disagree with that part of Vatican II. If you say Muslims are claiming this, Muslims think this, Muslims believe that they're following the same God as the God of Abraham, yeah, I grant all of that. If you're saying that those other statements are not saying something more than that, then I would just say it's terribly worded and should be shredded. That should be shredded if it's not saying that we worship and adore the same God, but it words it in a way that really, really sounds like it is causing multiple Catholic apologists to defend the idea that we all worship the same God. Put it this way, where are all these guys getting this idea that this is something they have to defend? They just wake up one day and say, hey, we have to defend the claim that Christians and Muslims worship the same God?
Yes.
No, people are pointing out, hey, there's a problem for Vatican II. Look what it says here, and these guys are defending it. But you're saying, no, it's not saying that at all. Okay, well, it really sounds like it. Together with us adore the one God. Together with us adore the one God. I don't know.
Anyway, are you done ranting?
No.
Okay. While the Orthobros and Tradcaths argue over this, the Assyrian Church of the East Base Church will evangelize China again. God bless AP and David Wood. Well, good luck to you. Bible believing capturing Chrislam blocked me during a debate for asking how is Allah not Satan? Ha ha ha. Powerful. Anyway,
did you call him capturing Chrislam? Because
if you did,
block you for that.
That's the mistake.
When it comes to the history of things like the Crusades, sometimes Christians will get a pretty bad rap. But
I would have them read the surahs, and I asked them to write down how many times explicit political, physical violence is commanded. My calculation is it's such a ridiculous scam that the people who quote that and say that just show that they have never actually read the Quran and put swords to people's necks and demand their property. Sorry. That's called theft.
Ruslan.
Ruslan. I find it funny that he has this sexy voice going Ruslan.
Ruslan. Take it
off. Maybe I should do that too. Like AP.
Yeah. Or I'll get
David Wood.
Is that how we're gonna roll, Ruslan? Is that what we're doing? What's next? Just put some big boobs on the screen and be like, "Hey, here's our show. Watch, dude. Hey, Ruslan is like 2 steps away from Myron Gaines."
Maybe I should ask Azalea Banks if she can do like a voice thing for me or something, since she has watched my video now. So.
Before we get into this video, do me a huge favor.
And before we get into this video, do Ruslan a huge favor and go and subscribe to his channel, Ruslan KD. At some point, he was a little child. I still remember when he was little. Now he has 784,000 subscribers. At some point, he had fewer subscribers than me. Now he has like much more than me. Soon to be a millionaire.
Well, he's got some hot, sexy voice at the beginning of his, and you've got.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Huge percentage of you guys that watch don't subscribe or like. And we're now on podcast platforms. So
before we continue, guys, make sure you like that like button.
You like the like button?
You hit the like button and subscribe. Most people do not subscribe. Shame on you. I'm sick of this. I'm disgusted with you. You make me sick.
Make sure everyone zoots that like button.
Yeah. Intellectually molest the like button and
everyone
subscribe.
Smash that like button like I'll zoot.
Yes.
So if you're just listening to this or you're on one of the other platforms, make sure you leave a review and you're following there. That helps out a ton. We're trying to make sure that we spread out the content for you guys. All right, let's jump into this video. When it comes to the history of things like the Crusades, sometimes Christians.
If David did that, he would say, but not like the Azut spread out Muhammad.
Get a pretty bad rap. But there was also a practical aspect of trying to take back cities from a pretty massive conquest of Islam all over the world, right? Trying to take back the Holy Land. You just said you want Constantinople back, right? Do you think the Crusades, in their proper framework, not all of them, but generally speaking, what they were intending to do was misrepresented today by historians?
There were 3 major groups involved with the Crusades. The Muslims, who no one invited to come out of the Arabian Peninsula and put swords to
Dude, that was funny. We didn't invite you. We didn't invite you to come start conquering and slaughtering people.
You're not
Who invited you? That's funny,
funny.
man.
I'm gonna make it known.
I'm gonna steal that. No one invited you. Hey, you guys coming out of the Arabian desert. No one invited you except Al Zut.
I find him kind of funny.
He is
Father
funny.
Josiah.
That was funny right there.
Josiah Trenham. So he's a priest in California, I believe, and then Antiochian Orthodox Church, as far as I know. And he actually has a channel, or they have a channel, which he's a part of, which is Patristic Nectar. That's
hey everyone. God.
That's where you can find him.
and demand their property. Sorry. That's called theft. And we don't appreciate it. That's fundamental.
Invite you, commitment, and we don't appreciate it.
Jihad is not just a matter of spiritual work on the inside. Muhammad did say that's called the great jihad. And the lesser jihad is the political, military jihad. But in practice, the jihad that Muslims have been most committed to is the violent.
He didn't actually say that. So it's there. The whole report or the tradition that there is a greater jihad and a lesser jihad is not entirely authentic. Although
even for the people who think that's an authentic quotation, it doesn't mean what it gets represented as meaning. Oh, this is the greater jihad. The idea, even from the quote, is that your everyday struggle to submit to Allah is the greater jihad, because that's training you for the time you have to go out and fight. In other words, your ordinary daily living of constantly submitting and mindlessly obeying Allah is an ongoing task. That's all the time. It's the greater one. And then when it's, hey, now we have to go fight these people, you're ready. You're ready because you had the greater jihad, and now you're ready for the limited little quick jihad of going out and fighting and dying.
Here's an Islamic site, Islam QA Info, which actually answers this question. It says, which is the greater jihad? Jihad with one's nafs, so with one's self, or jihad in the battlefield? Praise be to Allah, and blessing and peace be upon the messenger of Allah. It was narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to his companions when they returned from a military campaign, "We have come back from the lesser jihad to the greater jihad." They said, "Is there any greater jihad than jihad against the kuffar?" He said, "Yes, jihad al-nafs, the jihad against the self." This hadith is not sahih.
Not sahih. No,
So
now
it
keep
is-
reading. Now keep reading.
It is not authentic.
No.
Undoubtedly, jihad against the self comes before jihad against the kuffar, because one cannot strive against the kuffar until after one has striven against one's own self, because fighting is something which the self dislikes. Allah says, "Jihad, holy fighting, is ordained for you, though you dislike it. And it may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you, and that you like a thing which is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know." The point is that jihad against the enemy cannot take place until one strives and forces oneself to do it, until oneself submits and accepts that.
Get it, everyone? In other words, if you're not submitting to Allah in your prayers, and you're not submitting to Allah in your alms, and you're not submitting to Allah in all these daily things, then when someone calls you to jihad, you're not ready. You're not used to submitting. Whereas if you're constantly submitting to Allah and you just do what he says, 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 then they say, "Hey, now Allah says go and fight." Okay, you're ready. You're ready. So even that's the point of the hadith. This is not something peaceful. That's how it gets misrepresented. One, they present it as like this is a factual quote. It's not. It's disputed seriously. But then even the meaning, just because if you hear it, oh, this is the greater jihad, so that's the more important jihad. No, that's the one that takes the most time and effort and so on. And if you really do well at the greater jihad, then when it's time to fight, you're just ready, and it's short.
Powerful.
So
physical, political jihad, which is very much happening right now all over Western Europe, as anyone who knows history knew it would. Are you expecting people who come to the West completely abandon their faith? This is fundamental. You don't fight, you don't inherit in Islam. I used to teach a class at the university, local university.
This is very Islamophobic, man.
This is extremely racist.
Well, to me, called The Cross and the Crescent, the history of Christian-Muslim relations. And I would always have the kids read the Quran. It's very short. It's nothing like the Bible.
It's way
I've
harder
had them
to
read the surahs, and I asked them.
But it's also very painful to read, man.
It's extremely painful to read. If you said, David, you can either read Surah 2 or the Quran, or I'm going to punch you in the face 10 times, I would take getting punched in the face 10 times.
Me too. And I know David would pick that naturally because he likes getting punched. I don't like getting punched, but I still would pick that. There you go.
Smart. To write down how many times explicit political, physical violence is commanded. My calculation is 123 times in a very short book. Maybe it's 119, maybe it's 130, depending on exactly how you read it. If you had, the Quran's not much bigger than your Godly Ambition book. If you had 123 references to physical violence, would you go around the world saying that jihad is not about physical violence? Right. That's such a scam. It's such a ridiculous scam. And the people who quote that and say that just show that they have never actually read the Quran. If you read the classic Muslim lives of Muhammad himself led minimum 25 raids in which he people
himself.
Wow. At least 25. That's a minimum. At least 25 raids. And these are people.
Man, I love this. I appreciate this because there is one thing that I find kind of disappointing, and I might even say sickening about some currents that I encounter in the West, in religious circles, which is this whole, oh, let's not speak ill of Muslim, let's not speak ill of Islam, let's be very careful. And this guy just says it, and he says the truth. He speaks the truth, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
People who were not in conflict with him, Jewish and Christian tribes, He just wanted their land. He wanted their stuff. So he took it. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Absolutely, completely ridiculous. Islam is one of the three parties involved in the Crusades. Having stolen Christian lands all over the most precious areas to us, all over what is today Lebanon, Syria, Israel, Egypt. They took those lands from us without asking. Good, not nice. Not nice. And they give us options, right? You can die.
Not invited. Not invited. Didn't ask.
Absolutely. And not just that. You have to also obey Sharia. You have to follow the Sharia law, which means there's no evangelization or we kill you. You can't have public processions. You can't go. Are you kidding? Christians.
This is completely correct. So he's starting with it now. So the implications of being ruled by Islam, as it was historically, as it still is in many Muslim countries today, despite the West crushing the caliphate and forcing them to create nation states. So he began with. Let's see. He mentioned two things so far. Let's listen to them again.
You can't have the Sharia law, which means there's no evangelization or we kill you.
There's no evangelization or we kill you. This is absolutely factual. There are still over a dozen, possibly 20 or something Muslim countries today, in today's time, where it is still banned, it is still illegal to proselytize to Muslims, to evangelize to Muslims. If you go to these countries and you evangelize to them and you invite them to Christianity, you can get fined, you can go to prison. In some of these, you can even get the death penalty for making somebody leave Islam. Historically, in Islam, under Islam, it was generally applied that if you are a Christian or a non-Muslim in Muslim lands, you are not allowed to evangelize, to preach to Muslims. It carries the death penalty. So not only are apostates from Islam punished with death, those who preach to them are also punished as people who are directly declaring war on Allah and his messenger and his Islamic religion. That's exactly how it was historically. That's exactly how it is in the fundamental aspects of Sharia. T says not Antiochian, OCA, Orthodox Church of America. Really? I didn't know that. Is he? Okay. I thought he was Antiochian. I don't know. Sorry. Okay, apparently he's of the Orthodox Church of America. I didn't know. Is there anything you wanted to say, David?
No? Yeah, I don't. Orthodox Church of America. What are you?
Greek Orthodox Church, Greek Orthodox Diocese of
When
America.
are all the various Orthodox groups going to fight to see who's right?
Tomorrow.
They'll have to fight. Oh no, yeah, and then whoever wins will have to fight Trent Doherty.
Yeah, this is kind of a funny thing about America. In different what? Okay, apparently he is Antiochian. Now people are saying it's not OC, he's Antiochian. Hey, T, what's wrong with you?
Fight.
This is something that only happens in places like America, where the Orthodox church spreads independently through different traditions, where you have in one country multiple different Orthodox traditions. Normally, it's just if you are in Greece, you have the Greek Orthodox Church. If you are in Russia, you have the Russian Orthodox Church. But in America, you have all of them coming from different angles. It's kind of funny. So it's all T's fault. I apologize on behalf of T. Apparently, he is Antiochian. So
you can't have public processions. You can't go.
This is another thing in the Orthodox Church, and in the Catholic Church as well. In church
they kind of like public processions, huh?
Yeah, in church history in general, public processions are a very famous, a very big thing. Bigly. So walking through the town on certain occasions, especially on certain holy days, having a public procession around the church or through a certain venue, through a certain street, doing a public liturgy, doing a public mass and things like that. These things are very, very much common, traditional, historical in Christianity. Islam banned that when Islam took over. This is also outlined in the Pact of Uthman, which is or Pact of Omar, but the Pact of Omar, which was an early covenant, an early document outlining the rules of applied to non-Muslim minorities under Islamic rule. And under this pact, the non-Muslim groups, specifically the Christians, but then also the Jews and others, were banned from having any public displays and public worships, bringing a cross outside, doing church service outside, having crosses, dominant on their church buildings. They were banned from building new churches and so on. So this is what Islam does. It suppressed Christians and others as soon as it conquered, and still does. To this day, many Orthodox traditions in Muslim lands are very subdued and have to abandon certain practices that they have traditionally. This is what Islam does.
Always, are you kidding? You can't have public processions. You can't go. Are you kidding? Christians have never been contained within their churches. We worship in the churches, but then we take the gospel message out to the world. We walk out singing Christ is risen, and we carry crosses and banners with Jesus glorified on them. This is how we do things. And to be told by the Muslims, you can't do that. You can't ring bells. You can't go on processions on Easter. This is our life. I'm sorry. Oh, that is the sorrow.
Hey,
and no Christians have suffered.
What?
You should ask him if Christians and Muslims worship the same God.
Hey, that's a good point.
Hey, you should email him and ask him.
I should invite him.
Yeah, you should invite him on and show him some of the highlights of the debates over the past couple of days, and then get his commentary.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that some people will be watching or are probably watching who are Orthodox Christians or other Christians who probably have connections to him, or who have channels that have connections to him and so on. If anybody else wants to get his opinion, I think it would be a good idea to have his opinion on the topic of whether Muslims and Christians worship the same God or not. I think it would be a good thing. I kind of at this point, at this position, I don't necessarily want to be the person to make a scene about that and to invite him or any Orthodox clergy to discuss that topic. But if anybody else wants to do that, that could be an interesting thing. I kind of want to wait with such connections until I'm fully part of the church, honestly.
Under Islam, more than the Orthodox. So whatever Westerners think they know, ask us. Ask us. We have long lists of martyrs, long lists, and not just 7th century martyrs. Century after century. They tried to take Constantinople in 717. If the Mother of God hadn't defended the city and slaughtered them, which she did, amazingly, they were so destroyed in 717 that they didn't try again for 600 years. They wanted Constantinople from the beginning. They finally came back 1453, May 29th. They took Constantinople. So for us, that was like yesterday. It was like yesterday. To get into the Orthodox mind about time, I'll give you an example. The late Pope John Paul II, before he died, he's Polish. He grew up with a bunch of Orthodox friends. He had Orthodox in his family.
Thought he was about to go into Polish jokes.
He became a bishop. He's part of Poland today.
He's Polish.
And you know what they say about Polish people.
You know what they say about Polish. It would have been messed up if he's like, he's a Polak. That'd have been seriously messed up, man.
Before he died, he's Polish. I'll give you an example. The late Pope John Paul II, before he died, he's Polish. He grew up with a bunch of Orthodox friends. He had Orthodox in his family. He had Eastern bishops consecrate him when he became a bishop. The whole eastern part of Poland today is Orthodox.
Oh, that's why he brought it up. Okay, that makes sense. Because normally if you're saying, he's Polish, you're about to go into...
Yeah.
Before he died, he wanted to make a pilgrimage in the footsteps of St. Paul. And that would require him going to Greece. Well, since the schism, No pope had ever stepped foot in Greece. It was never allowed.
He said schism. David, do you say schism or schism?
I've said both, depending on whoever pronounced it most recently in my brain, but I prefer schism. Now, I think that's a cooler way to say it, and you got to say it with that pitch. You got to say, ever since the schism, like that.
Powerful. This is one account, by the way, of the Pact of Omar. I want to get into this. Briefly, the Pact of Omar is the body of limitations and privileges entered into by treaty between conquering Muslim and conquered non-Muslims. We have no special treaty of this sort with the Jews, but we must assume that all conquered peoples, including the Jews, had to subscribe to it. Thus, the law cited below and directed against churches applied to synagogues too. The pact was probably originated about 637 by Omar I after the conquest of Christian Syria in Palestine. By accretions from established practices and precedents, the pact was extended, yet despite these additions, the whole pact was ascribed to Omar. There are many variants of the text, and scholars deny that the text as it now stands could have come from the pen of Omar I. It is generally assumed that its present form dates from about the 9th century. The Pact of Omar has served to govern the relations between the Muslims and the people of the book, such as Jews and Christians and the like, down to the present day. In addition to the conditions of the pact listed below, the Jews, like the Christians, paid a head tax in return for protection and for exemption from military service. Jews and Christians were also forbidden to hold government office. This pact, like much medieval legislation, was honored more in the breach than in the observance. In general, though, the pact increased in stringency with the centuries and was still in force in the 20th century in lands such as Yemen. The pact is in Arabic. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, most compassionate. This is a writing to Omar from the Christians of such and such city. When you, Muslims, marched against us Christians, we asked of you protection for ourselves, our prosperity, our possessions, and our co-religionists. And we made this stipulation with you that we will not erect in our city or the suburbs any new monastery, church, cell, or hermitage. So this is written from the perspective of Christians, but it is just like an agreement would be written where the Christians are come to an agreement and are given certain conditions by the Muslim rulers and then write it from their perspective that they acknowledge these conditions. So these are imposed by the Muslims on the Christians. They will not build any new monasteries, churches, cells, or hermitages. That we will not repair any of such buildings that may fall into ruins. So if a church is damaged or ruined, the Christians may not repair those churches or renew those that may be situated in the Muslim quarters of the town. That we will not refuse the Muslims entry into our churches either by night or by day. That we will open the gates wide to passengers and travelers. That we will receive any Muslim traveler into our houses and give him food and lodging for 3 nights. That we will not harbor any spy in our churches or houses. Can you imagine this messed up party? It's like Muslim fighters, bunch of Muslim fighters come along and like they spot these Christian homes and they're like, all right, I'm hungry, man. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go into the house. They knock on the door. Hey, I'm a Muslim. Let me in.
Dude, you remember the famous clip of the British Muslim who was bragging about that. And he's talking about this is how you convert their kids when they see a real Muslim man come into town and says, hey, open your door. Hey, you get on the floor. I'm going to sleep in bed. I'm going to sleep in your bed and stuff like that. And he's saying this is going to, the kids are going to be watching this and saying, hey, who do we want to be more like? My dad who's sleeping on the floor in his own house or this Muslim who just comes in and says, give me your bed.
This is how Islam is meant to be. This is how it was historically. Muslims, if they take you over, treat you as subjects, and if you are a Christian, they have the right to barge into your home and to sleep in your bed, to eat your food, and so on, and you have to give it to them. If you refuse it, then you are violating your rights and fail to be proper subjects and thereby lose protection of the Muslim governors and are fair game to be killed.
AP, I do have a quick important update on the word schism. I in fact looked up the word, and I looked up multiple dictionaries and their pronunciations. Schism and schism are both appropriate, and some of the dictionaries put schism as the main pronunciation, and others put schism as the main pronunciation, which means they're kind of even. But interestingly, there's also a third alternative, which is schism. So it's schism, schism, and schism.
Schism.
You're sitting there laughing. I don't think anyone wants to say schism, but it's kind of like a multiple things. It's kind of like Shazam. It's also, anyway.
Shizzle.
Yeah.
For shizzle. Yeah, so I hereby excommunicate anyone who uses schism and schism.
Yeah, so just go as schism, everybody.
Yeah. Henceforth, it shall be declared that only schism is acceptable. That we will not harbor any spy in our churches or houses, or conceal any enemy of the Muslims. At least 6 of these laws were taken over from
Look at
earlier
that. Look at this
Christian laws against
commentary.
infidels. Uh-huh.
Yeah, prove that.
Prove it. Prove it. Do it. Come on. Do it. That we will not teach our children the Quran.
The Quran.
Christians are not supposed to teach their children the Quran. Some nationalist Arabs feared the infidels would ridicule the Quran. Others did not want infidels even to learn the language. That we will not make a show of the Christian religion, nor invite anyone to embrace it. So that we will not make a show of the Christian religion, nor invite anyone to embrace it. That we will not prevent any of our kinsmen from embracing Islam if they so desire. So Christians are not allowed to invite Muslims to Christianity. However, if Christians convert to Islam, you are not allowed to somehow prevent them or anything like that. That we will honor the Muslims and rise up in our assemblies when they wish to take their seats. That we will not imitate them in our dress, either in the cap, turban, sandals, or parting of the hair. That we will not make use of their expressions of speech, nor adapt their surnames. Infidels must not use greetings and special phrases employed only by Muslims. That we will not ride on saddles, or gird on swords, or take to ourselves arms or wear them, or engrave Arabic inscriptions on our rings. That we will not sell wine, forbidden to Muslims. That we will shave the front of our heads. That we will keep to our own style of dress, wherever we may be. That we will wear girdles around our waists. Infidels wore leather or cord girdles, Muslims cloth and silk. That we will not display the cross upon our churches, or display our crosses or our sacred books in the streets of the Muslims. So that we will not display the cross upon our churches or in their marketplaces. That we will strike the clappers in our churches lightly. Wooden rattles or bells summoned the people to church or synagogue. That we will not recite our services in a loud voice when a Muslim is present. That we will not carry palm branches on Palm Sunday, or our images in procession in the streets. That at the burial of our dead we will not chant loudly or carry lighted candles in the streets of the Muslims or their marketplaces, even with a funeral procession. Even at a funeral, we will not chant loudly. That we will not take any slaves that have already been in the possession of Muslims, nor spy into their houses, and that we will not strike any Muslim. All this we promise to observe on behalf of ourselves and our co-religionists, and receive protection from you in exchange. And if we violate any of the conditions of this agreement, then we forfeit your protection, and you are at liberty to treat us as enemies and rebels.
But how would enemies and rebels be treated, AP? Fairly and kindly, right?
The answer is in Quran chapter 5 verse 33. Let's look at that.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
So if Christians violate any of these things, then Muslims can treat them like this. Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and strive upon earth to cause corruption, this is enemies of Islam and those who cause corruption or rebel, is none but that they be killed or crucified or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in this world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. So if a Christian fails to observe any of these things, and if Christians, for example, put a prominent cross on their church or preach or evangelize to a Muslim to turn them toward Christianity, to try to save them, and this comes out, then Muslims are at liberty to remove any protection and to kill them or crucify them or cut off their hands and feet from opposite sides or exile them from the land. That's Islam.
Very based.
So he
I
wrote,
think we should invite as much of that in to Western nations as possible.
Hey, that's a good idea. We would need work. We need workers. We need people who work here. You know, what could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. That sounds like a brilliant idea. Wow. Allah froze David in carbonite just like Han Solo. This is a minor sunnah, as Muhammad would freeze every time he had a seizure. Alhamdulillah. Oh, thank you. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Jack Ray, David's router ran off with David's internet. Sahih al-Internet Provider, Volume 4, Book 55, number 616. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Mortoli says, hi from the Netherlands. Are people here familiar with Roy Casagrande? He seems real good in storytelling. Is he reliable when he talks history? David, what do you think about Roy Casagrande?
I've never thought about him once in my entire life.
Don't be rude, man. Don't you know anything about Roy Casagrande? I have no idea who that is. I don't know. Anyone know?
Just say Roy Casagrande is the apostate prophet, and we'll all conclude that we're talking about the exact same person.
Oh, see? Easy. According to Trent Doherty. Slim 2K, Trent seems to not believe Jesus appeared to the prophets and patriarchs in the Old Testament. He denied they knew him. Is that a standard Catholic view? I think that's as far as I remember, the Catholic view is on that is a little bit ambiguous, but I don't know enough about it to say anything about it. Do you know anything about this, David?
No.
No? Okay, good. Ayatollah Khamenei says, every time David freezes, he runs 5 more weeks in purgatory. Beast. Daniel Ward, Eastern Orthodox reject filioque. They deny the consubstantial communion between persons in the Trinity. Therefore, using your argument, EO don't worship God. No, absolutely wrong.
Not our argument, sorry.
Absolutely wrong. Hag says, don't know what to say, but will be to support, but will be to, oh, that's a huge super chat. Thank you, Hag. Appreciate that. Don't know what to say, but will be to support you guys us until Jesus comes back. People need to hear the gospel. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. And thank you for that big super chat. Bigly. Fox McCloud using an invincible reference. What a nerd. I know.
It seemed like a bloodbath on that cartoon, so I don't know if that's exactly nerdy.
Nerd. Ayatollah Khamenei, Trent cited Superman. He's also a nerd in addition to being a heretic. Speaking of Superman, have Trent and Mike Winger been seen in the same room? I don't think so. Sketch Therapy, General Zod welcomes evil in the name of conquest, knowing it is evil. Bizarro is backwards, but not a liar or malicious. I have out-nerded you. You're welcome. What is this, man? This really went downhill. This whole stream, this whole channel went downhill. What is this? It's really messed up. With all these nerdy references. Norm Alman, Trent talks like a guy who has a pop-level understanding of Islam. Maybe he should read the Quran, especially the Al-Zut part. Yeah, there was a weird part where he was denying that Muslims do not believe in the Gospels and the Torah, and I explained it to him, and it felt like I had no idea who I was talking to. But he doesn't really. He acts as if he has a big understanding of Islam, and he says that he understands Islam, but he seems to be very lacking in his understanding of Islam. I don't really get it. Susan Lee, my fellow Catholics need to learn their history. Thousands died at the Battle of Tours, Lepanto, and Vienna fighting the Muslims. This is what kind of pisses me off about it.
Yeah, because there was someone who said, we're not worshiping the same God. And then they said, oh, yeah, we'll fight all of you over this. And we'll all fight over whether we're worshiping the same God.
This is what kind of pisses me off about this whole thing, because Catholics were the most successful and most based in fighting back against Islamic invasions. What happened to that? What happened? What happened to that? Paul Longari, be careful. Muslims love seeing Christianity sects argue.
Okay, I guess we won't respond then. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm taking everything back.
Yeah, we won't say anything. We won't discuss any of this stuff. We'll just let people keep running their mouths.
There will be no more disagreements among us. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone who comes along with any insane idea, we'll just roll with it because we don't want to cause division or make Muslims laugh.
Powerful. Here's a funny reference from history. I think this is by Pope Urban II, from the Crusades. So, on this account, I, or rather the Lord, beseech you as Christ's heralds to publish this everywhere and to persuade all people of whatever rank, foot soldiers and knights, poor and rich, to carry aid promptly to those Christians and to destroy that vile race from the lands of our friends. I want to make clear here that I'm just reading a
No, you're advocating this. You're saying this yourself.
I'm just reading a historical document here from a Catholic position about Muslims from history, from the Crusades. So I in no way endorse nor hold this position. I'm just reading it as it is here. I say this to those who are present. It is meant also for those who are absent. Moreover, Christ commands it. All who die by the way, whether by land or by sea, or in battle against the pagans, meaning Muslims, shall have immediate remission of sins. This I grant them through the power of God with which I am invested. Oh, what a disgrace if such a despised and base race, which worships demons, should conquer a people which has the faith of omnipotent God and is made glorious with the name of Christ. With what reproaches will the Lord overwhelm us if you do not aid those who, with us, profess the Christian religion? Let those who have been accustomed unjustly to wage private warfare against the faithful now go against the infidels and end with victory this war which should have been begun long ago. Let those who for a long time have been robbers now become knights. Let those who have now been fighting against their brothers and relatives now fight in a proper way against the barbarians. This is all about Muslims. Let those who have been serving as mercenaries for small pay now obtain the eternal reward, and so on. So this is how the Vatican, or how the papal state, how the Catholic authorities in the time of the Crusades talk about the Muslims and their beliefs. Some say that it actually says who serve demons instead of worship demons, and Cameron, for example, thinks that
is that the thing they were arguing about with Jay? Jay quoted it.
Yeah, because the Latin says that they are it describes Muslims as servants of demons, but in this translation it says which worships demons. So he says it's a mistranslation.
They're serving the demons, but not worshiping the demons. Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't they be serving and worshiping the same thing?
I don't know, but it also contrasts. It also calls them pagans right before, and contrasts them with the Christians who worship God. And it's quite obvious why the translator here, put this as worship demons. So, yeah.
Bishop of Athens, who presides over the Synod of Greek Gnosticism, no pope had ever stepped foot in Greece. It was never allowed. So he wrote to the Archbishop of Athens, who presides over the Synod of Greek bishops, like 70 metropolitan archbishops who govern that country. And he said, look, I'm going to die, and I want to go on a pilgrimage. Can I come? No pope has ever come since the schism. I mean, that's 800 years. And they said, no, you can't. And he said, well, what if I apologize? And they said, well, tell us more about that. And what he was referring to was the Fourth Crusade in 1204. The Crusaders got distracted because, as I was describing, right, there's three parties in the Crusades: the Muslims, the Orthodox, We were involved in the First Crusade and the First Crusade only. When our emperor, Alexius Comnenus, an unbelievable emperor, an incredible man, participated and welcomed the Westerners to help get the Muslims out. It went very bad. From that moment on, we don't want anything to do with these crusades. The fourth was so bad that the Western soldiers, on their way supposedly to deliver us from Islam, got distracted and literally attacked Constantinople, murdered our bishops and priests, our nuns on our altars, and took over the city from 1204 to 1261. Put in Latin.
I find this kind of incredible that he's reacting to it as if it just happened yesterday.
He even said that. He said when he talked about the Islamic conquest of Constantinople, he said this like yesterday.
Yeah, he feels very passionate about this as if it happened just yesterday. But this is exactly how it went. So in the First Crusade, the thing that I just read here, in the First Crusade, it was very obvious to the Western Catholic Christians as well that this is not just a mission for Catholics, that this is a mission to go and fight for all Christians, West and East, against the Muslims who are oppressing everybody and who are preventing Christians from going on pilgrimage and so on. So the West came to help the Orthodox Christians and Catholic Christians and everyone involved against the Muslim invaders and oppressors, and the Orthodox Christians did participate. The Fourth Crusade was a disaster. He's really understating it here, but it was an absolute disaster. It was certain leaders within the Crusades decided, hey, you know what? Since we're doing this right now, since we're going on another crusade, we actually independently decided that it's in our best interest to split from the general crusade and to march toward Constantinople and crush the Roman Empire and to take it over and make it Catholic. And as they did that, they created a massacre. They massacred Orthodox Christians. They massacred Greeks. They abolished the Eastern Roman Empire and put their own Catholic empire in its place. Did some horrible, absolutely horrible atrocities. And by the way, this was not approved by the Catholic Church. This was independently done by certain people who participated in the Crusades.
So you're saying this is what all Catholics agree with?
Exactly. So
this means you, Shannon Draper.
That said, there is some nuance to this, because before that happened, history is messed up. Before that happened, there was something that these people were very, very grieved about, which they also used as reasoning when they marched toward Constantinople, and that is this incident here, Massacre of the Latins. The Massacre of the Latins was a large-scale massacre of Italian descent Catholics called Latins in Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, by the Eastern Orthodox population of the city in April 1182. The Fourth Crusade was only, I think, 20 years after this, or a little bit more. So the Catholics of Constantinople at that time dominated the city's maritime trade and financial sector. So what basically happened is that after the Crusades, lots of the Latin traders come in to be present in the trade of Constantinople, but they become more and more they are more and more perceived to be arrogant and imposing. Things escalate, and Greeks start killing brutally the Latins here. This then spreads. The knowledge of this spreads throughout the West, and in the West, this causes people to use this as a reasoning to say, you know what, we can't tolerate the Eastern Roman Empire anymore. Let's go and crush it. So lots of things go wrong during the Fourth Crusade. But this is basically what he's describing.
And so Catholics and Eastern Orthodox slaughtering each other. Everyone gets weakened by that. Paves the way for Islam to come and take over. And here we are, all these centuries later, and Cameron Bertuzzi's trying to set it all off again.
And Luca is saying, how did the Venetians treat the Byzantines? And this is the funny thing. We can go back in chronologically speaking, well, were they at fault for that? Because the Greeks were just reacting to how they were treating them and so on.
Yes, but what happened before that?
Things were getting really messed up. This was a big break between the West and the East, and it resulted in something awful. And what did not need to happen was the massacre of people and the destruction of their holy sites.
And took over the city from 1204 to 1261. Put in Latin bishops, Latin leaders. I mean, we've never forgotten that. We've never forgotten that. So when the Pope said, hey, I want to come before I die, and he said, I apologize, they said, well, tell us more about them. So finally, they trusted him. They said, okay, if you're going to come, and if you'll agree not to enter a single church, they didn't let him go in one church, not to enter a single church. If when you get off the plane, you come and sit next to the Archbishop of Athens on television and apologize for what you did in 1204, we'll let you come. And he did.
Wow.
He showed up with an army and slaughtered them all.
You know, he would always get off and kiss the ground wherever he went. Right? He kissed the ground, immediately went to the podium, and on national television read a detailed apology for the slaughter of the Orthodox at the Fourth Crusade in 1204. We forgave, and he had his pilgrimage. I mention that because what Western Christian would have kind of a memory like that?
We don't.
Where everything's very short for us, right? We think that we're having our 250th anniversary as a nation next year. And what Westerner could think in 800-year terms. But in the Orthodox mind, that's like yesterday, right? I mean, the church is 2,000 years old, and we're constantly engaged in our history. It's not like us. It's just a thing of the past. So the Crusades is a very, very sensitive subject for us, a very sensitive subject. I'm not sure there's great edification in thinking too much about it, but we certainly have a lot to contribute to our friends in the West who are allowing Muslims to come in great numbers. If you want to know how it's going to go, you should ask us, because we actually have 14 centuries of lived experience with Muslims, 14 centuries. And it's still horrible. What's going on today in Syria, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, I told you some of my backstory growing up in Azerbaijan.
That is that is the right attitude. If you want to ask what it would mean to invite a bunch of Muslims and to have them live here and spread their religion, you should ask the Orthodox. That said, I have a lot of criticism as well, because I'll just let it go for now. Okay. I'll just let it go. I think the Orthodox are doing a good job in pointing out that that the West shouldn't be doing this nonsensical thing of inviting people in masses and expecting them to integrate. It does not work. It does not work. And I see a groper here, and I ban him. That's in the comments. Wonderful.
How'd the Orthodox become so Islamophobic? That's the question.
I don't know, man. Just because they kill you, why do you have to become Islamophobic? What's your problem?
Good point.
Anders Ljungberg, could it be so that the Catholic Church doesn't get into trouble in Jordan or Morocco? I hope so. I think the Catholic Church shouldn't have anything to. Look, here is the thing. In my expectation, in my estimation, if you are the church, you should not be afraid to say what is true, right? You shouldn't start appeasing evil. And is this what we're doing? I don't really understand. When was the last time that the Catholic Church actually said something bad about Islam? Cracklin, does the true God still hear and honor the prayers of Muslims? It's a good question, David. David, to your knowledge, does the true God still hear and honor the prayers of Muslims? Have you asked recently about this?
What do you mean honors? Is that
does he or does he not?
Is it written that he does somewhere?
Well, does he or does he not?
No, I'm wondering what the still means. Like, is it agreed somewhere that at one point the true God was hearing and honoring the prayers of Muslims?
Good question. Last Spicy Ramen said this Catholic-Islamic dilemma gives more power to Proto-Duck Alliance. Cameron started more than he can handle. Good job, AP, for staying humble. Thank you. I'm the most humble, so it wasn't very difficult. Ayatollah Khamenei, Sam is citing noted Catholic thinker Sheikh Ibn Fibn here. Huh, interesting. Sky P says, Trent said Marduk referred to the true God, but God refers to Marduk in Jeremiah 52. Bel will be put to shame, Marduk filled with terror. Her images will be put to shame, and her idols filled with terror. The funny thing is, I heard from several people now that he mentioned Marduk, and for some reason I completely missed that. I don't know if I didn't pay attention or if I just heard it as him referring to Moloch, but I don't know.
Did he hear you when you said Momumu?
He probably did. Mamumu. It's Mamumu, man.
Mamumu.
Mamumu. It's the god Mamumu. I should ask ChatGPT to create a lore of the Mamumu religion. Harvey Schmervy, in 21, I was a big Sam fan. One day he made a very racist comment toward a Japanese viewer seeking to understand the topic more, and Sam said something racist to him. I called him out. Sam blocked me. Don't talk trash about Sam here. If you want to complain about it, complain somewhere else. Just kidding. But hey, I don't want to be engaged with that. So AJAP 20400. They claim you kept shifting the referent into incoherence. Kripke agrees with the validity of the shift, naming it necessity. Page 163. God bless you guys. I'll check it out. Thank you.
I might have that here.
You might.
I don't want to look for it.
Disparity as what's more problematic, Christian infighting or Islam? What's more problematic, Christian infighting or Islam? That's an interesting question.
Islam. Are you saying what's going on now as far as infighting? Namely, someone says something and other people respond, "Oh my goodness, guys, you got to get past that." Like, even biblically, if Paul saw something, he would call the Apostle Paul called out the Apostle Peter to his face because he was wrong. So stop getting it. Stop being obsessed with the idea that there's no set of circumstances where you should ever correct someone's statement. That's flat out unbiblical and extremely dangerous. Where anyone can say anything in Christianity, and no Christian should ever correct them if they're wrong. That's stupid. So get that out of your head.
Orthodox Council of Florence, which is binding to them, says the complete opposite of Vatican II, which is meant to be clear. Does it? What does the Council of Florence say? Wait, wasn't it the same? Wasn't it in the 1400s? Isn't that one? Yeah, that's that one. What does it say about worshiping God? What does it say? What are you referring to? Which part of it are you referring to? Which part are you referring to? Would like to read more on that. Read more on that. How long is the Council of Florence? Sessions 1 to 4, sessions 14. This is enormously long. I'm not going to read the whole thing now. But let me know which part of it you're referring to. Bible believing says, point to make. If there were only one God that could be worshipped, why thou shalt have no other gods before me? Apparently, you can have as many gods as you want, but also worship the one true God, and you're still you're worshiping the true God. Apparently. Sketch therapy. Sam's right about Hubal, Baal, Allah. I like that part. That's true. I agree with him on that. Catholics like Michael Lofton say Sam isn't Catholic. I don't want to get into it. Samuel Johnson. What if David's face opened up like the Men in Black alien and a tiny Mike Winger was controlling him? I'll ask him that question in a little bit. Raziel obviously can't tell you guys what to do, but I hope this is it for this topic, and we can all get back to defeating Islam. Well, I didn't mean to escalate the topic, so I'm kind of done with the topic as well, honestly. Norm Al-Man, the more I learn about Islam, the more it seems like a military cult that has gone way out of hand. That's how it started out, and that's how it continues. Islam is evil and messed up. Charlie Kirk says, but Trent said we all worship the same God, LOL. Love the thumbnail, LOL. Why would Cam partner with a Title 9 violator? Sassy Dad, I'm planning on joining a Greek Ukrainian Orthodox church. Shall we have a Mubahala Royal Rumble with the other Orthodox churches? Yes, let's do it. Songs of Relief. It may be that you dislike a thing, but you can cash me a tha. How about that? That's what the Quran says. I learned to say schism in school. I learned to say schism in shul. I learned to say schism in shul. You can rate these either way. I don't know what you're saying. Austin, I know this might be a little bit off topic, but I feel like making some jokes at certain people's expense. LOL. Ali Dawa looks like an uncultured human. Sit. What's wrong with you? I can't believe Catholics say they worship the same God as the putrid religion of Islam. Disgusting. I don't think that Catholics worship the same God as Muslims do. And I also don't think that Muslims worship the same God as Catholics do. I think that some people are just very confused. And I think that the Catholic Church needs to clarify that, honestly. But the Catholic Church also made declarations over the last few decades that are very much in contradiction to the idea that Muslims also worship the same God. I read one of those very recently, a document named Dominus Jesus, which you can find here, which goes into that as well. So there are actually good things that you can find directly from the Catholic Church that actually take a quite firm position on this. This document is about the unicity and salvific universality of Jesus Christ and the church. And it also very clearly says something here which is in contradiction with what Trent Doherty says at the very end before it comes to the conclusion. Look, la 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 la. It says here, let me read this whole part. In interreligious dialogue, as well as the mission ad gentes, today, as always, retains its full force and necessity. Indeed, God desires all men to be saved and come to the knowledge of truth. That is, God wills the salvation of everyone through the knowledge of the truth. Salvation is found in the truth. Those who obey the promptings of the Spirit of truth are already on the way of salvation, but the church, to whom this truth has been entrusted, must go out to meet their desire, so as to bring them the truth. Because she believes in God's universal plan of salvation, the church must be missionary. So the universal plan of salvation to the Catholic Church from this here means that the church has the obligation to go out and spread the faith to humanity on a universal scale. Interreligious dialogue, therefore, as part of her evangelizing mission, is just one of the actions of the Church in her mission ad gentes. Equality, which is a presupposition of interreligious dialogue, refers to the equal personal dignity of the parties in dialogue, not to doctrinal content, nor even less to the position of Jesus Christ, who is God himself made man, in relation to the founders of the other religions. Indeed, the Church, guided by charity and respect for freedom, must be primarily committed to proclaiming to all people the truth definitely revealed by the Lord, and to announcing the necessity of conversion to Jesus Christ and of adherence to the Church through baptism and the other sacraments, in order to participate fully in communion with God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Thus, the certainty of the universal salvific will of God does not diminish, but rather increases the duty and urgency of the proclamation of salvation and of conversion to the Lord Jesus Christ. So what this document is saying here is that everybody must convert. And Christians and the church have the mission and have the obligation to convert those who are not Christians. It's very clear here. It's very clear. And while we can respect the dignity of the non-Christians and what they are doing, we cannot agree with their doctrinal contents. Only Christ is the truth. Only the salvation is only within the church. This is what the document is about. So this document here, Dominus Jesus, the Lord Jesus, is very, very clear on this. And this is the position of the Catholic Church. That there is no salvation outside the church, that there is that there is no truth outside of it, that the church conveys the truth of Christ, and that the church has an obligation to evangelize and to turn people toward Christ. This is in contradiction with what somebody like Trent Doherty, for example, would say. But by the standards of this stuff here, he is a heretic, which is why I say that he does not represent Catholicism.
Do you have any boxing experience, AP?
No.
Then you can't respond to him.
Good point. Samuel L. Jackson says, what if David's face opened up like the Men in Black alien and a tiny Mike Winger was controlling him?
Why would a tiny Mike Winger be declaring war on himself as the most evil person in the universe?
That's a good point, I have to say. Daniel Ward, read 1 John 4:7. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. John 4:22. Wisdom 13:1 on 1 to 9. And Romans 1:19. What are you even saying here?
Yeah, if you're, we don't know what Daniel means here, but if Daniel is trying to, if you're implying a meaning that is inconsistent with the rest of 1 John, especially what John says about the Father and the Son, this would be kind of weird.
So you are saying to me that that beloved, do not believe every spirit, but to test the spirit whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. If not, they're probably demons, just like Islam. So you are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. So you're referring to this here. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. You're saying that you're kind of seemingly implying here that in any way love means that you are born of God and know God. I don't really understand. Is this in reference to Muslims? I mean, I almost want to take this here and say if two gay lovers love each other, then that also means that they worship God.
That's what I mean about, I don't know what Daniel means. If he's suggesting this means something that is inconsistent with the rest of the book of 1 John, that would be weird.
And the other issue that I have is, so this is obviously talking about believers and love for each other. The other issue that I have with that I have an issue with is this here. You have John 4:22. Some people bring this line here to say that Muslims can be worshiping the same God, although they don't understand him. I want to make just one thing clear here. And I'm not an authority on this topic, but I just see a very big fault here when people go to this verse. In this verse, Jesus is talking to a Samaritan woman. Samaritans were not just people who were following some strange, weird religion. Samaritans still exist today. Samaritans also existed in the time of Jesus. They didn't believe in some wild, different gods. They believed in the same God as the Jews believed. They were just a branch that disagreed with the Jews and claimed to be the real Israelites, and had their own version of the Bible, of the Torah, and the books. So it is by definition a group that worships the same God in practice and in knowledge, in speaking, as the Jews did at that time. But Jesus goes to that Samaritan woman and says, "You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews." So her understanding as a Samaritan of God is at odds with the Jewish understanding, And he says to her, "You do not know what you worship. We do know. Salvation is of the Jews." So the Jewish way thus far is the right way, not the Samaritan way. He's not talking here to a completely strange, to a strange religion here that worships some made up, messed up entity. He's talking to a different branch of Israelites. That's it. It's a bad example. Anyway,
which is just west.
But thank you, Daniel. You can clarify what you mean by the first part. I don't understand. Hey, inspiring philosophy. Here's my jizya for turning me into an Islamophobe. Thank you, man. Thank you, IP. Do you want to hop on? You can hop on. Just let me know. If you want to talk about the Crusades and how base they were.
Excuse me, just east of Armenia, right? And then Turkey is on the other side. I told you some of my backstory growing up in Azerbaijan, which is just just east of Armenia, right? And then Turkey is on the other side, right? West is Turkey. A lot of historical Armenia is now modern day Turkey. The Armenian genocide of 1915. And
gotta get it back.
So when people are talking about Islamic influence in the West, the downstream effects of it, I've lived it. I've seen it. I've seen people get displaced. Oddly enough, folks that grew up, Arzis and Armenians grew up together, friends. You know, some of my mom and dad still keep in touch with their Arzi friends. But the mindset and the philosophy behind that's driving the ethnic cleansing that happened to the Armenians. And then it just happened again in 2023, September 2023, 100,000 Armenians were ethnically cleansed from the eastern part of Azerbaijan in this Nagorno-Karabakh region, which is like this neutral zone. And they were just displaced and no one talked about it. 2 weeks later, October 7th happens. And so everybody forgot about the 100,000, up to 120,000 Armenians that were just displaced from that.
And why? Why did nobody talk about it? Why were there no global protests about it? David, why? When Azerbaijan ethnically cleansed a bunch of Armenians from their own land in 2023, why didn't people talk about this? Why didn't they go out protesting in the streets and saying, "Free, free Armenia"?
Because it wasn't Jews doing it.
Oh.
Everyone kind of went all in on Jews. You know what I mean?
Well, here's a solution. Just get a bunch of Jews involved and make them somehow.
Dude, I've been saying that. Matter of fact, we should like pretend to be Jews, and every time there's some Christians being slaughtered or something like that, we'll show up and start going, "Oi, vey, this is great. We've been planning this behind the scenes for so long. Us Jews, we've been planning this attack," and then everyone will notice.
Yeah, and we can say this is a holy land. It's promised by God to us.
Yeah. And we'll go down. So we'll go over to a place and we'll say, "Yes, us Jews, we're trying to cause much violence and chaos here because we want this land as part of greater Israel." And then all of a sudden it'll be on every like Candace Owens show and everything else. Tucker, they'll all be all over it, man.
I am clearly Jew. Oy vey,
Protest.
oy vey.
Does everyone see how he blows that shofar? That's how you know that we're true Jews from Brooklyn.
See? Clearly Jewish. Clearly Jewish. This is the proof. The proof. Yeah. That's what you need, man. You need to get the Jews involved if you want people to pay attention.
Gotta do it. Let's get it done.
Gotta do it the Jew way.
A region again, you know, and so yeah, it's the fruit of it in terms of how it deals with Christians in that part of the region is very, very dark. So that's why I was curious your perspective and you tying it into what is happening all over. You know, they said in London the #1 baby boy name was Muhammad.
Oh yeah, that's not just London. That's throughout England,
Yeah.
and that's for years.
Yeah.
Not just for a year or two. That's years of this.
Yeah.
There are very many positives, of course, and I'm certainly not trying to judge and be mean to Muslim people. but we do have strong things to say. You know, the earliest Christian commentary on Islam comes from St. John of Damascus, one of the great fathers of the church. He's the first one to write anything, theologically speaking, evaluating Islam. And he was very...
I still think we should sometime go through that whole thing.
We should. I know at least one scholar on John of Damascus, so we could actually have someone on with us.
Yeah. He says some very base things.
Very clear about what he said, and called Muhammad Antichrist and Islam a heresy. He actually lists it as a heresy because of the Christian influence on Muhammad, and which is very evident in the Quran, both an Orthodox Christian.
You know what I find kind of funny? Like I find this very hypocritical. So in the Orthodox Church, it is often among clergy and monastics and all that. It is considered an aspect of asceticism to be unworldly, to just grow your hair and your beard and not trim it and not style it, because it's kind of like a way of letting one aspect of the world go and not style yourself, and to just wear simple black and all that. So when Father Josiah Trenham, for example, has long hair and beard, it's probably an aspect of asceticism where he's clearly just letting go of pride and arrogance and not styling his hair. But the thing is, he looks very good like this, so it's kind of hypocritical.
Influence, and also a heretical Christian influence, both in the Quran. But we've had a consistent witness to Muslims for 14 centuries. We still feel the same way today. There are many benefits for them in the West, though. Now many Muslims are becoming Christians all across the West, which is a great blessing for them. If they did that in their hometown, they'd be killed. If they were in Muslim lands, it's forbidden to convert to Christianity. And you will be killed. When I was a young man, I spent a summer in Pakistan, mostly working with Christians. Christians were tolerated in Pakistan because if they threw all of the Christians out, they wouldn't have any doctors or nurses. The Christians ran all the hospitals. And I was part of a mission team that was working with the Christians in the hospitals. And I remember sitting and having tea with a young man, maybe a year or two older than me. I was 19 at the time. I think he was 21. He and his wife had converted to Christianity and thought it would be a loving and irresponsible thing to do to tell his father and his mom. So he sat down at dinner. His dad stood up, went out into the shed and got a pickaxe and came and tried to kill the spot.
My goodness.
And it had been a year or two since he saw his parents, and he said, I'll never be able to see my parents again.
That's awesome.
My dad will kill on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've heard so many stories like that in the past. I've had a lot of interactions with people from Muslim countries, especially places like Pakistan, where such things happened. So, just want to recap the thing that he's telling. Actually, let's just listen to it again. Let's listen to that part again.
Man, maybe a year or two. If they threw all of the Christians out, they wouldn't have any doctors or nurses. The Christians ran all the hospitals. And I was part of a mission team that was working with the Christians in the hospitals. And I remember sitting and having tea with a young man, maybe a year or two older than me. I was 19 at the time. I think he was 21. He and his wife had converted to Christianity and thought it would be a loving and irresponsible thing to do to tell his father and his mom. So he sat down at dinner. His dad stood up, went out into the shed and got a pickaxe and came and tried to kill the spot.
My goodness.
So, family together converts to Christianity from Islam in Pakistan. They eventually, with their newfound faith, consider it the right and good thing to sit down and tell their father or his father about their conversion to Christianity, and to deliver them these good news, the gospel of having converted to Christianity. And the father then picks up a pickaxe to try and kill him. This is not something that is very, that is just one example. This is not something of just one lunatic of a father or of a person who does that. This is directly Islam. This is the Islamic religion. It is part of Islam to kill apostates. David, what does it say about apostates in Islamic tradition?
If anyone leaves his Islamic religion, kill him.
Why does it say that?
Because Muhammad had abandonment issues caused by losing everyone when he was young.
That's very, very rude that you would claim something like that. It's very rude that you would claim something like that.
This is a part of our religion. There's a reason to it. Yeah, there's a reason why there's a capital punishment, because people like you, little weaklings who leave their religion and
he specifically lists you as the reason for the killing apostates laws in Islam.
Yeah. He's talking to me here.
He's specifically speaking directly to AP.
Corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Yeah, capital punishment will be applied in an Islamic state. Yeah, not individuals going and doing it themselves like idiots. Yeah, no, under an emir,
it is done. Yes,
and we, you know what, we'll be watching.
We'll be watching. Yeah, you keep watching, bastard.
Hey.
What?
Don't upset him. You might upset his wife, and she might write a messed up message to you on her dry erase board, assuming we're talking about the wife who's appeared and not one of his side muta wives.
Oh, it turned out that he had temporary wives when he was in Mecca, right?
Yeah, at least one that we've been hearing about.
It's pretty messed up, man.
It's extremely messed up, but that's Islam.
Pretty. I mean, it's very befitting that these morally sick, messed up, perverted people who are defenders of Islam and adherents of Islam, and who are the ones who carry the banner of Islam, are also really, really messed up, horrible, hypocritical pieces of filth who would, treat their own wives like that, and also use their power and their positions to just have temporary marriages and basically engage in Islamically legal prostitution and all that. So this is basically what they do, because they come from something evil. They worship something evil. They have an evil, sick mindset, and they are nothing like the Western culture, nothing like Christianity. It is purely sick and evil and barbaric and messed up. And I can't wait for the day that the West gets their thing together and starts dealing with it in terms of simply saying, all right, you have overstayed your welcome. It's time for you to go, and you to go, and you to go. For example, this guy should be deported. This guy should be deported. I mean, if I was in charge, I would immediately deport this guy. Kick him out immediately. People should work toward deporting this guy. This is where you start. This is a good start, actually. If you want to kickstart the action in the UK against Islamization, against Islamists and all that, start with a popular name. With Ali Dawa, for example. This guy who advocates for death penalties against people who offend or leave Islam and who spread corruption in the land, who advocate for Islamic takeover once there are enough Muslims, start with advocating for the deportation of this and cause a scene. Make the public speak about it. Make everyone speak about it. Make people angry about it. Make those who oppose deportations angry about it. Start somewhere. Bring a popular name like this guy onto the scene. Be smart, be intelligent, be creative. Start like this and then get it going. And then deport slowly, or very, very rapidly, actually, all the Islamists who want to Islamize the UK. That's what you need to do.
And that's what AP meant when Hijab was running his mouth and said, our strength is in our numbers. Make sure you have as many kids as possible. Our strength is in our numbers. And AP responded with, numbers can be reduced. You just explained how to peacefully reduce the numbers.
If you're English and you want to do something about it, start with this. Contact your whoever you think has some connections and is in power. Start something, post about it, do grassroots activism for this. Start with popular names like these. Advocate for their deportation. It will work if you start somewhere. It needs to be done.
Goodness.
And it had been a year or two since he saw his parents, and he said, I'll never be able to see my parents again.
That's awful.
My dad will kill me on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was just normal Pakistani family.
Mm. You have a marriage conference coming up.
October 10th. And that was just normal Pakistani family.
Normal.
You have a marriage conference coming up.
October 10th and 11th.
October 10th and 11th.
Fox Theater in Riverside, California. Can I say a little bit about it?
Please.
So, Patristic Nectar has always hosted for many, many years.
What is this, man? I thought this video was about Crusades and Islam. Now we're talking about marriage.
There's conferences, usually 2 conferences a year, usually about the spiritual life, about the writings of the first church fathers, deep theology, that kind of thing. We always bring in very high level Orthodox priests, monks, scholars, patristic scholars mostly. This year in the fall, we're changing our strategy.
I want to talk about deporting people, not about marrying people.
They were trying to deport everyone, and he's just talking.
Because of what's going on in America, this is such an incredible moment. My heart's just beating fast when I look around at how many people are considering their faith and are contemplating becoming Christ's servants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dancing. I never thought I'd see this. I thought we were in this terrible decline, and all of a sudden, people are waking up.
Mm-hmm.
I really think the Spirit of God is stirring us and waking up.
Where are the deportations?
The sexual revolution of divorce and all of this.
I don't want sexual revolution. I want sexual deportation.
And we're inviting champions, nationally recognized champions. Gavin Ortland, who I think you know pretty well, who is a Protestant YouTuber, a very wonderful person.
I want Protestants deporting Islamists.
And a pastor, Protestant pastor.
Pastors deporting Islamists.
Who is very competent, has a great competency in the subject of marriage too. And so in this collage of
I want a collage of deportation.
Speakers from Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant backgrounds.
I want Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestants deporting Islamists.
We're going to try to hold up a vision for honoring the natural condition of the human race in
I want to honor deportation,
marriage and family life.
I love it.
I want families to engage in deportation.
I hope people will come and enjoy themselves and leave.
I want people to enjoy deportations.
Inspired to have a high view of marriage and to.
I want to have a high view of deportation.
Invest themselves.
I want to invest in deportation.
In marriage. This is.
I want to marry deportations.
Area. I'm going to speak from my vantage point. I did my doctoral work.
I want to have a vantage point of deportation
at the University of Durham in England on.
I want to build a university about deportations. Anyway, so apparently this was enough. This was all about the Crusades and Islam, and then he gets into marriage. It needs to be more about deportations. I personally think that he needs to have a whole section about deportations. Have more deportations. Yes, have more babies, but also have more deportations. That's it. David, what do you think about that?
No. That would be Islamophobic, AP.
Are you a racist? What is this? Are you against deportations because you think deportations are racist? All right. So what do you think, David, about Father Josiah Trenham and his very rude praise of the Crusades and his very rude criticism of Islam? Do you think he's right?
All that stuff, I'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? You're making zero sense here. But then he was like, and the Catholics showed up and slaughtered us all. And I was like, he's got a point here.
William Salisbury, AP for an NYC mayor. Hey, this is
no, good. We've already got an awesome mayor coming up in New York City.
I should run for NYC mayor. That's where I will start my path toward becoming the president of the United States. And I will abolish the rule of that only born Americans can become presidents, only just so that I can become president.
You should go to New York and say, Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani is saying he will give you free stuff, but I will give you even more free stuff. And then you'll get elected.
And once I give you free stuff, I will deport you. MT, what you gonna do when Zut appears? What you gonna do when Zut appears? I don't even remember the song, man.
Oh, that
What you gonna do when
Azalea Bay?
Zut appears? When Zut premieres, mow the end of your butt. Okay, yeah, now I get it. To the beat of 212. Okay, good. Thank you, MT. Urinating Broom says, sorry if inconvenient, but AP, how did you deal with controversial trad Christian views against homo acts and gay marriage? Did you struggle? I'm not gay, so why would I struggle with it?
Did you struggle with this passage telling you can't be gay?
Did you struggle? No, I don't struggle at all with it. Johnny01 says, did you see Texas Democrat representative got sworn in with Quran instead of the Bible? Text as, of all other states. I haven't seen that. Did you see that, David?
No, I'm looking it up now. Texas.
K-Forcer, had Charles Martel not been victorious at Poitiers, we should, in all probability, have converted to Mohammedanism. Then the Germanic races would have conquered the world. Some alt-right dude. Yep. This is actually what Heidler says. Heidler said that if Charles Martel had not defeated the Muslims, then the Germans would now be Muslims, and the Muslim religion was much better. Would have been much better for the Germans than the weak Christian religion. That's what Heidler said. Timothy Freeman.
Stories from 2023 about a Texas legislator, Salman Bojani, who was sworn into office using a copy of the Quran.
Johnny?
I don't know if that's the same story, but
some Johnny with a Quran.
Salman Bojani.
Mr.
Bojani.
He said Johnny again.
Mr. Bojani.
Johnny. Timothy Freeman on Smoko ATM. So can't stay on to watch two blokes yap off about the basicness of the Crusades. I hope the most never forget when Richard I completely al-zooted Saladin in the desert. In the desert. He did a good job.
Zooted me in the desert.
He zooted me in the desert. Z effective. This is Zoot effective. A track you might like is Crusader by Saxon. For Christendom's sake, we'll take our revenge on the pagans from out of the east. Ooh. Spicy. Timothy Freeman, Rome to the Mo hose during the Crusades. Poke around and find out. Need them in these times. Leonim the 14th should kick off a new one. Let's do that. Pope Leo the 14th, where you at? Start a crusade. James K. Guy. I bet Thomas Jefferson and James Madison would have signed off on the Crusades. Remember the Islamic perpetrated prior pesky pirate problem. It is kind of funny that America actually fought a war with Muslims very early on in history, right?
They were, I mean, that was the reason for making the Marines. They were America's just shipping things, and Muslims are stealing them. And then they actually sent a representative and said, we've never done anything to you, not one thing. We've done zero to you. Why are you attacking us? And the response was, because you're not Muslims, buddy.
You lunatics. What's wrong with you? So the Barbary Wars were fought in the very early history of the United States, where the United States already rudely started imposing itself as a power in the Middle East or in the Mediterranean, very, very rudely, and thought they can just go around commanding Muslims to stop stealing their stuff. Why? See, this is once again America being rude and imperialist, imposing, going and fighting against the Muslims and forcing them to stop stealing American things. This is where you can see already that at the very, very beginning, America was very, very rude, interfering in the business of Muslims who just wanted to peacefully steal things. Shame on America. Shame on America. Gist J, which is actually a cousin of Lily J, made a super sticker. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Orthodox, the Council of Florence, Cantate Domino, CTRLF Heretics. Let's see. Council of Florence, Cantate Domino, CTRLF Heretics.
Council Cantate Domino, Control plus F Heretics.
Let's see what it says. Let us see what it says. Let us see what it says. Here's one section of it. Is that it? Let me see. Somebody made a summary of it. I want to see the whole thing. Pope Eugene. I'm not going to read that section, man. It firmly believes, professes, and proclaims that those not living within the Catholic Church, not only pagans, but also Jews and heretics and schismatics, cannot become participants in eternal life, but will depart into everlasting fire, which was prepared for the devil and his angels. Unless before the end of life the same have been added to the flock, and that the unity of the ecclesiastical body is so strong that only those remaining in it are the sacraments of the Church, of benefit for salvation, and do fastings, almsgiving, and other functions of piety, and exercises of Christian service produce eternal reward, and that no one, whatever almsgiving he has practiced, even if he has shed blood for the name of Christ, can be saved unless he has remained in the bosom of and unity of the Catholic Church. But it doesn't really say that they do not worship God. Right? This is the funny thing. If I people will say that this is consistent with what the Catholic Church says today, because they say that there is no salvation outside the Church. But it doesn't say anything about whether they do or do not worship the same God. For some reason, some people still think there's a difference here. So, heretics. I'm looking through the whole documents of the council. Heretics. Yeah, I don't think it does. I don't think it says anything about whether they worship or not. Anyway, but thank you for the reference, Orthodox. Hi, Bars Barbecue. We invite you to zoot the like button and beat the subscribe button in the desert. GCJ issue, worship the same God. It is easier for Islamists to confuse and convert Ixtians who know nothing and nothing. Islam with many cases of love jihad in Kerala, India. Powerful. By the way, what I read here of this Council of Florence, in terms of the eternal state of the disbelievers, of those who are not Christians, is also very much a Catholic position that is not even, I think, to my understanding, in line with the Orthodox Church and how the Orthodox Church views the eternal afterlife of Christians and non-Christians. The Catholic Church makes it very clear that all those who don't believe, they will go to heck and burn there. The Orthodox Church doesn't say that. Style and rail woodworking. The Crusaders intellectually zooted Islam. That's what they did indeed. Dr. Alex Stavrianoudakis. I feel so ashamed for not being able to pronounce that properly at the first attempt. I apologize, and I hereby resign from my position. Saint John of Damascus refutes Muslims who deny Christ's divinity and Trinity, saying Christians follow Scripture while Muslims err. Shows Christian God differs from Islam's Allah, fount of knowledge. Powerful.
Hey, did you see that? They zooted me in the desert. There's a clip of that guy. Now he was going chanting death to the IDF now.
Oh yeah, I did see that. He also looked very strange. He was like dressed in some red jumpsuit or something. It looked like he just got zooted and came to speak there.
Hey, I thought of a video. I'll call it like top 10 ways to save Palestinian lives. But I'll give like the protesters 10 and then like the real 10, right? So top 10 ways to save Palestinian lives. And it's like Number 10, blocking traffic.
Oh yeah, that's very powerful.
Number 9, screaming on Pierce Morgan Live. Number 8, and go down the list. And it's all stuff where there's no scenario where this saves any Palestinian life, and yet it's all they're doing. And then you get to my 10, which it'd be like number 10, return the hostages. Number 9, quit having terrorists control your entire land. And you go down the list. But guess what? Every single one of those would actually save lives. Isn't that weird? Like, you have people and literally everything they're doing, nothing is saving anyone's lives. And here's all these pretty straightforward ways to actually save lives, and they won't touch it.
That's pretty rude of you, man.
It's pretty weird, man.
It's pretty rude of you. It's pretty rude of you. Pretty rude of you. So I'm just trying to find my digital version of
number 7. Stand in front of the Egyptian army and go, "They beat me in the desert." Number 6, get on a boat ride with Greta Thunberg. Like everything they do, it has no real world practical help for anyone. It's all like attention. Anyway, weird stuff, man.
I thought I had a digital version of the writings about the heretics by Saint John of Damascus, but I don't have it, and now couldn't.
Then what good are you, sir? Of what use are you?
Because I have it here in physical form, but it would be much easier to just search through it on here. Huh. Gotta get that, man. Gotta get that. Gotta get that. Peace be upon me, said Crusades are coming, wanted or not, Muslim. That's very rude and racist. Joe, I heard some Christians saying we shouldn't reason with secular peeps with politics, e.g. abortion is bad because XYZ. Instead, they say you corrupt dog, and we won't reason until you be saved. What do you think about that, David?
No, I always any comment that starts with I heard someone saying, or I've heard all kinds of things. You have to include why we should take it seriously or be concerned about it.
That's
Some
true.
people say pretty much anything. So
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Somebody said every time you bash the Catholic Church, you make a Muslim happy. Who was that? Shannon. Every time you bash Catholicism and cause division among Christendom, you make a Muslim smile. I agree that that there is no use and nothing good in attacking a fellow Christian tradition and church. And I don't like engaging in that at all. Not at all. I do, however, think that in this discussion, the Catholic position and also, unfortunately, the decisions of the Catholic Church have contributed to stuff that actually is very much favored by the Muslims. And I would hope for the Catholic Church to take more of a stance like the priest that we just listened to when it comes to Islam, and to stop with this appeasing attitude.
And I will just point out Shannon's utter hypocrisy. So Shannon, when we respond to things that like Cameron and Trent say, and you disagree with us, you spam how many hundreds of times? How many hundreds of times? Oh, you're making Muslims happy and you're causing division. But you're criticizing what we're saying and doing, right? So why are you causing division and making Muslims happy? You're causing division, right? In other words, if we just to be clear, if we say stuff and you disagree with it, and then you call us out for it and say, you're wrong to be doing this, you're causing division, right? Therefore, following your own rule, you should not be criticizing what we say or do, because you're causing division, right? Making Muslims happy? Just saying.
Well,
just saying. Quit being a hypocrite.
I don't want to be hostile toward any of the Christian groups or traditions.
I want to be hostile towards everyone.
I want to say just don't be appeasing against evil.
Yeah, don't be weak.
I'm an ex-Muslim, and my former religion is evil. Don't appease evil. That's it. Do not appease evil. Sahih al-Bukhari 5134. My neighborhood is getting absolutely zooted by fireworks. Happy 4th, my favorite Islamophobes. Oh yeah, I'm hearing fireworks. I'm suddenly remembering that it's July 4th. In a little bit.
In a little bit, that's correct.
Which some people here think everybody has to know what July 4th is. To all those people in the world who do not know what July 4th is and what it is in reference to because they live in proper countries. July 4th is Independence Day in the United States of America, which pretends to be a country but is not.
Yeah, July 4th is when a bunch of American patriots said, you know what will really be good? Regime change. And then this was before everyone decided that regime changes never work.
Yeah. That's what they do. That's what they do. So I find the jokes by the meme of being zooted now very funny here. My neighborhood is getting zooted by fireworks. Sketch therapy, marriage, when crusade in your pants retakes holy lands. Powerfully put. Yankee Gun South says, you've got to clip this deportation segment and post it separately. Somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs to do it. James K. Guy, Dwap, even if everyone on earth were shown the proof that Islam is false, do you think Islam ceased to exist as a major religion? Their brainwashing is potent. Of course, it doesn't just work with showing to all people that that Islam is false. It takes a lot of convincing, because Islam is significantly stronger in terms of indoctrination and anchoring itself in the heads of people, not because it is powerful and true, but because it is extremely tribalistic and hostile, and it's all about loyalism and us versus others. I have to say Islam is stronger in terms of anchoring itself in people's heads and brainwashing the masses than Christianity, than any form of Christianity. So I guess if you want to argue that Christianity is stronger in a way, I would say Christianity is stronger in brainwashing and anchoring itself in people's minds. But that's not because it is good.
You just said Christianity is stronger.
Sorry, Islam is stronger than Christianity.
Too late.
Islam is stronger in brainwashing and anchoring itself because it is bad. It is messed up. It is hostile. It is evil, and it takes over and plants itself in your head like those little aliens and makes you messed up and uses you as a breeding ground to attack all that is good in the world with its messed up, evil side, from which foremost Muslims themselves need to save themselves.
It is actually a difficult situation with Islam because they're brainwashed all their lives that, hey, Islam's the truth. It's proven by all these things. It's indisputable. And anyone who comes up to you saying otherwise is an evil liar. And so that takes a long time to cut through all that. And so that's one issue. The other issue is Islam, I've been saying for a while now, as Islam is exposed as false and Muhammad is exposed as a false prophet, Islam's basically going to become a global gang. Like, you're not joining it because this is the truth about God. You're joining it for protection, and you're signing up because it's a big gang, right? When guys get locked up and they convert to Islam, it's not because they've discovered that Islam is true. It's, hey, here's protection. Well, that can happen in the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's what we were talking about earlier with the clip of that guy where he's saying, I mean, just imagine a Muslim comes to town and goes to a Christian man and says, get out of your bed. I will sleep in your bed. You sleep on the floor. Right? He's not saying, look, my religion is true. your kids will eventually sign up just because it's a easier life if you're not being persecuted. And so that's basically a big gang.
You said basically. Yeah, earlier I was trying to get the best faces to put on the thumbnail. AI is doing some really, really weird things here, man. Look at this.
What?
Yeah. There are different versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the one that I put on the thumbnail was the best, actually.
It was good.
Yeah. It turned out very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. Anyway, Ash Mays, what's up, Ash? How you doing? Speaking of Charles Martel, Song of Roland is written by Catholics and says Muslims worship Apollo. Prove, you see. Huh. What? David, in your face. See? Catholics are super based. See? You're
I'm
like,
gonna become
no,
a Catholic. I'm gonna become a Catholic now.
Catholicism is wrong. Sabi, did you see Trent Horn take on this yet? I kind of want to watch it.
Oh, that was from today.
I kind of want to watch it just right now. But David is like, no, we already went for like 5 hours. Why would I do that? How long is it? 28 freaking minutes?
Can always do it on
8 minutes?
Can always check it out and do it on Saturday if he's got some extra argument. And then Shannon can cry the entire time. Oh, I can't believe you're responding to him. How dare you? You're not allowed. You're making a Muslim happy.
And then the Gospel Truth, also, our friend also made a video about this.
Great job, Cameron.
That's funny. Now everybody's talking about it. And yeah, I find this kind of interesting though, because Trent Horn, I was going to say Trent Dyer. Trent Horn actually, his video looks like this. So it says, "Do Christians and Muslims worship the same God?" My take, and the thumbnail says, "Maybe neither." So the same God, different God, maybe neither. Now this is the funny thing. It seems like he might be going into the direction that I hoped these other people were trying to go. He might be going into a direction that I can kind of agree with. So I'm kind of curious where this goes. I kind of want to check that out sometime, but not today. Not today. You saw N. Fuentes x Dinesh D'Souza debate was good. No, I don't want to look at anything that has Nick Fuentes in it. I don't want to engage in any gay content or something. Jack Ray, Islam is the bang gang. What in the zut? Slam our head became a member. Thank you. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. Zut in the but said Zut could Zut as much as more as Zut could Zut as mut. Zut could Zut as much more as Zut could Zut if Zut could Zut more. Basically, all Zut version of woodchuck could chuck wood.
Yeah, we got that. That was not confusing.
I was very confused. I thought, what is this? Sir Whitemeat says, "Can you add launch the friggin' mythos to the soundboard?" Maybe I should.
Wait, which one's that?
That's from the AI Khamenei video. Where somebody made an AI video where Khamenei is talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I saw those. Those are funny.
Harris Wood says, "Watched for a while. However, what really sold me was David Wood saying you can't trust the Turks. I knew at that point he was a man of his honesty." That's true. This is why we trust David. Between the ditches, Obama swore in once on a Quran. The U.S. left practices its own taqiyya. Zut zut. Obama didn't swear in on a Quran. What are you talking about, man? That never happened. Prove it. Prove it. Nick says, "Great debate against Trent on capturing Islam, hosted by Bertuzzi Ibn Abbas." Hey, stop attacking. Stop attacking Cameron Abdullah Bertuzzi. It's very disgusting. James Key Guy says, I heard the descendants of the men of Al-Zut were upset at David Wood and AP. Apparently, overcompensating the stigma, they wore suits and organized a protest. Things got heated. It was a Zut it was a Zut suit riot. Interesting. I had no idea about that. Cam, so you're saying they should make an Alien remake with Muhammad as the main character and Muhammad AI is getting crazy. The Al-Zut will be the aliens. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was arguing. G26 AP, you did a great job exposing Trent and his papal V2 nonsense. I must say, I appreciate it. I really appreciate this. However, I have to point out once again to everyone who says it that Trent Doherty's position does not represent the Vatican, and it also does not represent Vatican II. His position is completely heretical by the standards of the Catholic Church, and by the standards of Vatican II as well. His position transgresses and goes against the position of the Catholic Church. It's one thing to have an issue with the Vatican and their statements on Islam. It's another to have the position that Trent Doherty holds. His position is not the position of the Catholic Church. It is worse than the position of the Catholic Church. But hey, I appreciate that. Welcome home. Thank you. David Wood, we are waiting for you. Thanks for all your work on Islam. David Wood, they're waiting for you.
Good luck with that.
See, there you go. Dr. Alex Stavrianodakis says, Saint Gregory of Nazianzus, Trinity is one Godhead. Muslims reject Christ's divinity and Trinity, worshipping unitary Allah. Ignorance of Trinity means they do not worship the true Christian God. Orations. Powerful, powerful. In your face, David. In your face. Sabi, if there is only one being that is God, don't we all worship him in different ways, except for atheists and Satanists? No. If you worship idols, then you're not worshiping God, right? If there is one God and you're worshiping something that you just created, then you're not worshiping God. You're worshiping an idol.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you say, if you're going to say anyone who worships anything is worshiping, why wouldn't you say the Satanist is also worshiping God? He's just got some wrong ideas.
There are theistic Satanists who actually believe that that Satan is divine and that they do think that Satan is the good guy in the story, although most Satanists are actually not really worshippers of Satan, so not directly, actually in practice, worshippers of Satan. But there are certain people who are considered theistic Satanists who actually believe in the existence of Satan and do venerate or worship him. In that case, they would be worshiping Satan, right? Because by your definition here, you would also have to say that they also worship God. So clearly, if you are worshiping something that is not God, then you are not worshiping God. If you're worshiping a messed up idol image that you then give the name God, then you're worshiping an idol that is not God. And Muslims are worshiping an idol. That's it. James K. Guy, David would 100% agree that an exposed Islam would be a de facto global gang. That's pretty racist and rude and Islamophobic. David Kazashi says Randy Balls versus Yehudi if MNC worship the same God. That seems like a good scenario, man.
That'd be powerful.
All right, David, anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
It is kind of funny that Jay came on to our live stream on your channel in a completely serious mood to talk about stuff, and then I brought up Randy Balls, and he immediately got into character. That's art. That's art, man. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. And we will be together again. Are we doing something tomorrow?
No, I'm gonna take my kid to watch fireworks.
Very rude. Maybe I will do something tomorrow. This is just fun.
Yeah, you could go through the Trent Horn video, and then there'll really be some fireworks.
Yeah. This is just so funny, man. Her last post is just our video.
That's funny if that just stays there for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Especially it's dumb because when you click on it, if the people watching that there are going to be new people and they're going to click on it and then it's me. Hi, everyone, and welcome. That's stupid.
That's the funny thing. She actually said, and she actually watched this and saw you speak like this at first.
Yeah, see, this is good for people who already know us. If you're new, you're not going to know what the heck is going on here.
She actually posted it. She watched it. She clicked on the video and she saw this.
Hi, everyone, and welcome.
Then she watched the video and then she took the link and posted it on her own Twitter page. That's very funny.
Based.
That is hilarious. And then I come in at some point.
Of sub-Saharan Africans.
I guess she sat through this.
Thinking that this is the
transatlantic slave, the Arab skirts, abolition of century, and is still going on. In Mauritania,
what are you doing?
Slavery.
This is my script.
Well, someone's got to read it.
I'll read it. I wrote this, man. In Mauritania, slavery. This is so stupid.
It's pretty terrible.
And we're talking about a completely serious, messed up topic here.
An extremely serious, messed up topic, which is just being shared by people who don't know us right now, and everyone's confused.
We actually did that, like, so on this day, I said to David, I actually recorded a script, or I kind of recorded a audio note and thought this is actually quite good. I'm just going to turn this into a script and to record the video. And then David said, maybe I should record it. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then we were joking about this. Then I sit down later on and talk about the horrible things that were done to the slaves. And then as we were sitting there, I think, dude, this is kind of a messed up topic to make a joke video about, man. But then we did it anyway.
It sure was, yeah. Then we went ahead and did it.
Yep, because that's how messed up we are. Cam, how is Islam same God when Muhammad got choked by a demon? You see, this is the proof. This is true. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. As always, have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. Not sure if I will be live tomorrow. Been going wild. There's something interesting coming up. I will actually be in next week. Most likely, I will be in at an event in Tampa, Florida, at a Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA event that I have been invited to by Charlie Kirk himself. So I'm not sure what the extent of it is at the moment of my involvement, because it kind of comes on short notice, but I am going to be there. So that's coming up. That's what we're doing right now. It all happened very quickly. Don't look like that, David. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. All right, but I'll say more about that once I know more. Thanks, everybody. As always, thanks for watching, and which is translated into English in the following words of our in-house goat interpreter.
Stay away from Islam.
He looks like a goat, man. I don't know.